Welcome to the Stubbornly Positive Heroes series. This is an extension of our weekly podcast, also called the Stubbornly Positive Podcast. And it's going to focus on stories of people who went above and beyond for their community, for the world, for their families, and stories that are often undertold or not told. We have seen the power of sharing, the power of vulnerability, and the power of stubborn positivity in so many people that we've met over the years. I am Craig Grossi. I'm an author and former Marine, and this is my amazing wife.
I'm Nora Parkington, creative director of all things Fred the Afghan, Stubbornly Positive.
Your resume is long.
Etc., etc.
I think a lot of people will see the word hero in our title, and it's I'll be the first to say it gets overused, the word hero, but the people that we're going to be talking about, the stories that we're going to be sharing, there's no synonym, there's no other word for what they are, and they would probably be the first ones to eye roll at being called a hero, and that's exactly why we're talking about
we are making this podcast.
Exactly.
If you would like extended versions of these episodes or behind the scenes, check out our patreon.com/stubbornlypositive. And for audio versions, you can find those wherever you hear your podcasts. Our first stubbornly positive hero is Russell Jacobson, husband, father of 3, Navy corpsman, pathologist, and Vietnam veteran. His unit was the 2-9 Hell in the Helmet unit. He also served with The Walking Dead. I'm going to read a quick snippet of an amazing article written about Russell to give you an idea of a horrific day of his service where he was severely injured. And we reference this day a lot in the podcast. This was written by Dave Kindy of the Plymouth Independent. According to various accounts, Russell was with the Point Platoon at the base of Hill 861 when he noticed a smoldering cigarette butt on the trail. Before he could yell ambush, machine gun fire cut into the Americans from all sides. Marines started falling, and Russell, as one of the 2 corpsmen in the battle, sprang into action. Doc Jake, as he was known, began treating injured men while bullets whizzed all around him. When Russell came across a seriously wounded American, he and another Marine used a poncho for a stretcher to move him out of the line of fire. Suddenly, 2 North Vietnamese army soldiers jumped out of the jungle and began firing AK-47 machine guns, killing the wounded man and Marine helper. Russell rolled off the trail into a thicket of bamboo where another Marine landed on top of him. The enemy fired at their hiding place, killing the Marine and wounding Russell in the legs. The enemy soldiers used Russell as a decoy to attract other Marines who wanted to rescue him. To prevent his comrades from being killed, the injured corpsman yelled, "Get back!" An enemy soldier placed a grenade under Russell, which detonated and ripped through his right hip and kidney, though the flak jacket protected most of his torso. He may have died at that moment. And we will leave the out-of-body experience for the episode because that was an incredible
so much more to the story.
I also want to read a disclaimer from Peg, Russell's wife, also a retired nurse, of the conditions that Russell came home to in the hospital, where he had almost, I think it was close to 100 surgeries and a year of recovery from his injuries of that day. Yeah. And I hope this episode also highlights the struggles that Vietnam veterans faced in the country when they returned, and the systems and the lack of thereof that they faced. And you'll see how it not only affected them, but their families, and how we still have a far way to go. So this is from Peg. Peg remembers the ward being severely understaffed, something like 1 nurse for around 70 patients. Because of that, she often ended up helping with care herself when she visited, including emptying urinals for the men in beds near Dad's and helping give him his medication and shots since the nurses simply could not keep up. Dad was on a striker frame kept upside down for periods of his recovery, and he told her he would save food scraps to feed the rats that got into the ward. There was only 1 psychiatrist for the entire hospital, Dr. Sims. And Peg said the conditions eventually led to his own breakdown. Of the men in that ward, she said she only remembers 2 who went on to do well afterward. The rest struggled badly, some ending up homeless, some dying by suicide. She also remembers men with maggots getting into their casts and serious problems around basic care, men unable to get help using the bathroom, and others not receiving adequate pain medications simply because there weren't enough hands. Peg was careful to say none of this was the nurses' fault. They were given almost no resources and were stretched impossibly thin. She felt Chelsea Navy Hospital was worse than most VA hospitals at the time, though sadly fairly typical for what hospitals of that era were dealing with. She also mentioned something that we didn't get into much detail on. Early on, Russell's original Navy base mistakenly listed him as killed in action. The mistake was caught and corrected just in time. The family back home never actually believed he had died, but it came down to a matter of moments. A letter notifying them of his death was already on its way to be delivered before the correction came through. So we start there.
Yeah.
And painting the picture of these important discussions with the incredible family, Russell's wife, Peg Jacobson, and his son, Dave Jacobson. The Jacobsons are in the process of seeking a Navy Cross or an award for Russell, and the process has led to fascinating discoveries that you'll hear all about. We hope Russ's message of giving back, despite everything he went through, resonates with you throughout this episode. So please welcome Peg and Dave Jacobson.
Welcome, Dave and Peg. This is amazing.
The Jacobsons.
Yeah, the Jacobsons.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for being here today. You've inspired a whole new series.
Yeah.
Stubbornly Positive Heroes.
It's a pleasure.
And-
Thanks for having us.
Oh, we're so grateful. I want to jump into first how we know each other. This is fun for me. This episode is so meaningful for me because I feel like I'm getting to know Dave so much better and your family. I've known Dave for most of my life as my older brother, Yasha's best friend. Can you share a little bit? How did you and Yasha meet? And yeah, let's just start there.
Oh, man. So, Yash, we met Peter Radke's house. He had this, I don't know if you remember the Radkes, but they had this cool little compound near Coast Guard Beach. And it was just in and out. They had places for kids to stay, and you just woke up, you got to go surfing all the time. And they had this like 5-bay garage where we got to poke around and mess around with cars in there. It was awesome.
Wow.
And so Yash was part of that mix, right? So, when we're not surfing, we're poking around with cars, and we started hitting it off. And how I know you guys is he loved dragging around his little sister's places, and I'd see you guys poke around sometimes. And I remember how cute Lydia was.
She was.
He used to carry around Lydia, and I'd be working on a car, and he'd go, hey, will you tell Lydia what you're working on? And I had a VW Bug, and I was like, so I'm working on my Bug, and she would just start chuckling because she thought I was joking, like calling the car a bug, and she wouldn't stop laughing, and she's like, it was hysterical. She's so cute.
She still has that sense of humor.
That's great.
One of my favorite memories of this era, he would pick us all up, like the little sisters, because Yasha's about, 9 years older, 8 years older than me. He would push me up against the ceiling with one arm, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the entire world.
Yeah, the kid was, everything he did, he was just maxed out. And that makes him fun to hang out with. Yeah, and then your family, we would show up at, I remember checking out your house. I mean, to you, it's normal. To me, it was wild. It was awesome. You go down this, you're Wellfleet, which alone is just heaven on earth. And you're driving down this little dirt road by the most iconic movie theater in the Cape. I think in the world. I mean, it's awesome.
Yes.
And you're driving down there, there's these little compounds, and then you show up to your house and there's chickens running everywhere. Your mom, who seems to be not under stress, managing you kids running around, and just constant music playing, just violins all day, any day, all hours. Neighbors, and it was just, I remember it pristine, the smell of pine needles. It was just the most Cape Cod country feel you ever had. It was awesome. So I'm like, yeah, these are my people,
This perspective is so special to hear.
Well, I don't know if it was special to you, but it was to me. You guys were very unique. Your mom was out there. You guys were all picking your own food from the gardens. You go and you had a community pot of food. I mean, you guys were awesome.
Other people's gardens.
So cool. Such a cool art. And I see why you guys turned into such awesome artists. Not only were you guys kind of free range-ish, but you also were dedicated. Like I said, the violin all day long. Like it makes sense, like that you guys got so good at all that stuff. That was awesome. Going from there, yeah. So Yash and I, we got carried away with any project we get carried away with. So we got into surfing. So we did big traveling, big waves, chasing big things, going to awesome places.
Did he went to Fiji with
We did,
you?
yeah. We used to do Central America, Fiji, Australia,
Costa
all these good
Rica.
places, and take on risky things.
I grew up looking at, you and Yash going on these incredible trips. Like, you guys would always come back. I remember you went to Australia. Yasha brought me back, went on that Fiji trip. He brought me back a boomerang, which I instantly broke.
Yeah.
It really upset me because I threw it and it worked, and I was shocked. But you guys just were so cool and really inspired. Yash and Ariel and you, Dave, like inspired me as a little girl. Like, oh, I want to do that when I'm older. I want to travel. I want to go international. I want to see these cool sites. And I'm so glad you're showing the multifaceted sides of Yasha, because he is so, like, skateboarding, surfing was such a huge and is still a huge part of his life. But he's also this like ice climber, and he can forge gold and silver and
make jewelry
and
everything. And that pissed off so many people, because everything he would take on, he was just
good at.
He's good at it. He's good at everything.
If people are listening, you probably remember our last episode. I was talking about how Yasha and I were talking. Yasha was named after a famous violinist, if you're curious, Yasha Heifetz, which is another whole story. But Yash and I were talking about my grandfather, who's a World War II veteran. And we were talking about like family ancestry. It's something I've been diving into. And while we were talking, he was like, hey, I'm going to send you this article about Dave's father, Russell. It's going to blow your mind. And I didn't share this with you, but it was really special. He said how much your dad meant to him as a young man growing up. And he said he was the most stubbornly positive person. Yeah. And as a young man growing up, like, he impacted me in so many ways that, he'll never know. Mm-hmm. And it's something as we talk on this episode, I'm kind of curious if this is somebody that Russell always was, or was this something after his service? Did it really transform that outlook on life to just be so grateful for every day? Or was he always like that? But let's start, Peg, could you share a little bit about him, and as we get into his service, and also how you guys met, you and Russell, your husband?
Well, I can't tell you a lot of it because his kid is sitting here, but let's say we met at a party.
Good point. Should I step out?
I think you might have to.
We met at a party. We were 18 and 19.
Wow.
I was in nursing school, and my affiliation was at a state hospital in Norwich, Connecticut. We had to go there for 3 months. And Russ was a year out of high school. He'd written a paper in high school which got recognized. He was like an idiot savant. He was really smart. But he and so he was working in a research lab at the hospital, and going to school part-time, which wasn't very smart in 1965.
Part-time, right?
Yeah. So he, because he was part-time in school, he would have to either enlist or be drafted.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
By November of 65. So when I met him, he already had enlisted, but I don't know if you called it enlisted. He was going to go to the Navy, and I knew he was going in October. Mm. So there were a lot of parties. And that's how I met him.
Wow. You guys were children, so you knew him before Vietnam, before he went off. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he had so he'd been working at the hospital after high school for a whole year, and he was like famous because 5 schools went there. 5 hospitals sent there. Every 3 months, 120 nursing students went to the dorm there. They changed every 3 months. He thought he was in heaven.
He was.
But at least
Yeah.
I put a stop to that.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah, you
for
did.
you, Peg.
Yeah, you did.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's great.
What
So
was
that's how we met. And yeah,
what was he like? Like, what was he like at 17, 18, 19 years old?
he was always who he was. He was always pretty kind. He was always basically a caregiver.
Right? As a
That
corpsman.
type of personality.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go to his like graduation from boot camp or anything like that?
No, that was
Yeah,
at Great Lakes.
Yeah, it was all the way up, and they probably weren't really having them back then. They were just pushing people through.
They were pushing him through, and then
They did have yearbooks, but I can't find it.
yeah, and then he came home in around that Christmas. He was home on leave, and then he went back and went to corps school. That was also at Great Lakes, and then he was done in April, and he went to Guam.
Wow.
Guam.
And so he was supposed to be in Guam for 2 years. Meanwhile, I graduated and moved to Boston. And he, all of a sudden, I just got a phone call one day that he was home. It was in September. And so he was home for 2 or 3 weeks and then had to go to San Diego, and he had to do Marine boot camp. So he got to do boot camp twice.
Right.
And then because the Navy corpsmen, take care of the Marines.
Yeah. Do you remember him saying that's something that he wanted to do was to serve with Marines?
No.
Yeah.
When he went to boot camp for the Navy, he thought it was stupid. He made all the wrong choices. Actually, he made the right choices because things ended up the way they did, I guess.
Right.
But he was offered officers candidate school, and he thought this government, the rah-rah stuff was for the birds. He was offered, you have to remember too, it was the 60s. And then they offered him, he was very good in language, they offered him to be an interpreter thing, but he was going to have to do something, stay longer. He wanted his 3 years and out.
Right.
Wow.
So, and his plan had been pre-med. So he thought corps school sounded pretty good and Navy was pretty good.
Right. And corpsman, that would check out. Could you share a little bit about like your relationship with your corpsman? It was such a special bond. Can you kind of explain like what kind of person signs up to be a corpsman? Because I really think there's like a special.
Well, it's a corpsman is one thing. I mean, there's so many different ways to be a corpsman. There's hospital corpsmen, and that work on the ships and in the Navy hospitals, and then there's the corpsmen that sign up or are forced to serve with Marines, and
that's right. He was definitely drafted to the Marines.
Yeah. But it sounds like he with everything he did in his life, he dove in with his whole heart.
He did.
100%.
Oh yeah.
And that is such a special, just a special breed of human to, because they're typically overwhelmed. When they're the only one in a situation that knows what to do, and so they often, when someone's hurt, have to give instruction to the Marines, like where to put pressure, where to apply this, where to like what to do, to take care of a wounded Marine, and while also monitoring all the vitals and all the situation, and and making a plan to move them if necessary, and like there's just so much going on top of
and staying with them when they're going to be dying.
Yeah.
He talked about that, especially the head wounds, bad head wounds, and people can still keep talking to you, and part of their skull is gone. They're not going to make it. He did talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're just some of my, like, just the bond that I have with the corpsmen that I served with in combat is forever. I mean, I'll never forget those guys, and they're just incredible. And
you know who I felt bad for when after he was hurt and he was at the Navy hospital, and it was those days. I mean, it was crazy. But the ward he was on was a dirty ward. It was an old World War I barracks. And there must have been 70 something. I was working in Boston at another hospital, but there must have been like I was not used to these conditions. It was like 70 people in one room, and they were all dirty orthopedic, cases, stuff that you just would never see. And sometimes one nurse would be covering 3 wards. And nobody could get a narcotic unless the nurse unlocked them.
Oh my God!
Wow,
it was awful. And the corpsmen that were there, maybe there'd be 4 corpsmen during the day with 70 patients, and these poor guys, these were young kids too, and they hadn't been yet, and they're seeing what happens, and they know they're going to be probably going to be getting drafted to go.
Right.
I felt really bad for them.
Yeah. I mean, when he was drafted, when he's on his way, after Marine boot camp, how old was he?
He got to Vietnam in November of '66, so that was his 20th birthday.
It's like they're just kids. These are just kids.
I know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I know.
So he goes and trains with the Marines.
And explain a little bit who he was attached to.
And so then that process is, they don't just let anybody, go and serve in combat. So he obviously fit, made the cut to serve alongside Marines, and then he ends up in a unit known as the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Which at that point they were already being called that. Like the history I read about it was that the North Vietnamese army told them, some like through a message or something, like, we're gonna kill all of you, and the Marines, being Marines, were like, all right, well then we're the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And they had like took that in and made like the Grim Reaper like their insignia. And so that's such a Marine thing to do.
Just to illustrate like what he was arriving into.
Yeah.
And I'd love it, Dave and Peg, if you could share like what you've discovered in your research, because just to paint the picture for listeners, was his service something he spoke a lot about growing up, or were most of these details what you discovered after his passing in 2015?
Yeah, so it was very much I guess I don't know the word to it, but I guess I was very naive to understanding the whole thing. And part of it is there's a lot of details I didn't know, and I think there might have been some details he didn't know.
Right.
And the thing I've learned in this journey is everyone's so caring, and when they put together like an oral history, they're just doing the best they can, and a lot of it is emotion. So things change a little bit here and there about some of the stories. And then when I've been finding with the research I've been finding with my mom's old letters from '67, from some books that I've found them in, some other things, that it painted a different picture. So there's two sides. There's factual information I found, and that's stuff that I'm going to move forward with. And then there's things that I've kind of tied together.
Yes.
And then there's stories, right? And the stories that they're good to hear. I wasn't there. The people I talked to, they're doing the best to recall, and they're emotional.
Right.
What did Dad talk to you?
Good question. Yeah. Sorry. So what did he tell me? So he didn't talk to me about it often. He in public, he's skiing accident. It wasn't a very popular time to talk about the war. So he did ask me a few times, like if anyone asked, why was he in a hospital bed again in the house or whatever. It was because whatever, broken leg, whatever.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, it was something we hid, 100%. And unless it was family or friends.
See, I never thought of it as hid. It was just kind of, you just didn't talk about it.
Right.
But,
okay. Yeah.
But you would feel.
Yeah, it was something I had to be quiet about.
Right.
And I guess
dirty secret.
And was
Well, see, we didn't think it was a dirty secret. It was like survival, because when he came home,
You
we
wasn't cool.
were living on a college campus for 7 years.
Mm.
So
wow.
back then you didn't, you just you did not do that. You didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I can't imagine
So
that.
my understanding of his Vietnam experience was he always reiterated, he's like, I was there to help. He's like, everything I did, like, I want you to know I was there to help. Any stories you hear, like, my mentality is, help people, whatever. I wasn't into anything you see in movies and all that stuff. He's like,
Yeah.
it's like, I saw those things. He's like, I didn't want part of that.
Right.
Then he said, day to day, he did tell me a few things he witnessed, like, over time, like, it was just me and him. He tell me some things that are just absolutely horrific, and it gives me like a darkened version of the world. You know what I mean? It's that people are capable of doing those things. What the combat he was involved in, he never really, it was nothing self-pride. He's like, look, this is because there's questions, right? I mean, when I saw him get out of the tub or the bath or whatever, and that was the only time he would not be covered up. He was always covered up.
Right.
His whole body was skin grafts and bullet holes and blasts over here where his hip was taken out, his kidney was out. He had this little C right here. He was distorted from trying to walk with a paralyzed leg and a fused hips. So he'd walk like, he had a little, over time he got more and more scoliosis, and yeah, it was
still hot.
It was disfigured. It disfigured the way he walked. But that's objectively, when you stand back and you're like, holy shit, this guy's kind of busted up. But day to day, you get used to it.
Sure.
So going with that, you're like, all right, what happened? This isn't just a gunshot, Dad. Like, what happened? And he's like, all right, we got ambushed. There's a long story. I got shot a bunch. And he's like, and then there was there was another man. And he was scared, and he saw the North Vietnamese that were coming through, and he was scared, and he was screaming. He was a Marine, and he was injured. So he said he covered his mouth, and he pulled him into the bamboo, and he's like, shut up. And he says all he remembers is the bamboo spreading, and a young man just, doing one of those and trying to kill him. So I think he did tell me that.
Wow.
That stopped. It stopped real quickly, and he's like, that's all I'm going to tell you about that.
Right.
And he goes, and then the last thing I remember, and this is over a period of years, I would hear just a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit.
Sure.
And I think I heard the most from him after you guys actually first went to the wall in 2007.
We went
2007. And
2007.
His the grenade part, this part was critically downplayed, and it might even have been his understanding, because he didn't want to think about it. He's like, yeah, this, I was like, so what happened, like, over here, and what's going on? And he said, I was there for a while doing, and it was a horrible situation. And he just said a grenade rolled into my backpack or behind my backpack.
He lifted his backpack and put it.
That's what I learned, but he didn't tell me that.
Oh,
so he told me that. And so there's two stories. There's what she understood, and what I understood is as a grenade fell in there. And the reason I think he told me that is because the story ended there.
Right.
Because her version, there's more questions.
Right.
Why did someone lift your flak jacket up between your jacket and put a grenade?
Right.
Like, why did they go boop and put that? Like, what is going on here? Like, there's something more to this.
That's because people were coming up the hill.
That's what we learned. That's what I learned. I didn't know that. So there was more to it, and that is a very dark conversation I have with a parent, right?
Yeah.
So I think he left it at that, and then he, knowingly that, that's what we discussed with the brothers, and kind of moved on from there. And then he talks about recovery. But really in Vietnam, he talked to, I mean, honestly, he didn't leave out the relationships about all the nice people he met. The letters are unbelievable how good my mom was with keeping letters. I can go through the phases of goes through. He's like, hey, I'm here, and this is so beautiful. I'm in Guam. Oh, I see these leaves. And he's like, I'm in Vietnam. He's like, that's kind of crazy. And then all of a sudden he's like, I was in Operation something or other. I forgot what it was called. It's in there. Chinook 1, right? So it's two operations. Chinook 1. And he goes, things got very hairy, and you could just hear the tone drop. And I know something really, he disclosed some really awful things happened there, a totally separate thing. And then so on and so forth. The letters just got darker, and he's like, this is absolutely like hell. I can't believe what's happening to these people here.
Yeah.
and joking around, he's like, I'm just going to move. Like, the people are amazing here. The Vietnamese, I just want to move in with them and be their kid. This is like this is awful.
He loves the kids.
Oh, that's so
Well,
hard.
that's the other side of being a corpsman too, is that you're not just taking care of Marines,
Right.
like when there's
It's a great point. Yeah.
injured villagers, injured enemy, like fighters, like any civilians, that are sick too. I mean, like I remember in Afghanistan, the locals would want to see always come up to the corpsmen and and point to their joints and like this, because they had arthritis, and the doc would just give them like an Advil, and they would just like, it would like blow their minds.
Yeah.
And they knew who the corpsman was on our patrols and stuff, and they would always be looking for them, or like if they had a kid that was sick, like, please come and like help my kid. So there's a whole other side of that where he's he's so aware of the suffering of the people in those villages, and that's a whole other experience for a corpsman, whereas a Marine is like just looking down their rifle and like just and kind of constantly looking for threats and stuff,
which also adds to like the trauma, right? I mean, to be kind of immersed with people, just the humanity, right? But then also seeing like the most horrific sides of humanity in war. And I'm so glad you're sharing this, because it's showing your perspective as a young boy, like growing up, being really able to visually see the effects of war on your father. It's like, there's a lot of unseen wounds, right? Like PTSD. We call it PTS, post-traumatic stress. We drop the disorder out, so we always call it PTS. But as a child, like, you're seeing the effects of war and how it affected your father, and like you mentioned, like also he wants to protect you from it by the way he's kind of sharing the stories. You get a little bit over time, and now as an adult and a father, you have 2 kids too, Dave, right?
Right.
2 kids. Like, now we're recording this with the lens too for you of like, as a father, and how this impacted your life. And I think a lot of this series and what I hope to show is just like the ripple effects of service and how it has affected families, and how it helps us also understand the person more by, if they weren't able to share in their time here, now we can understand them even more, and understands ourselves at the same time by understanding more of what he went through. And thank God, just Peg, for your letters.
A lot of answers here through your letters. It's such a beautiful gift to have these letters that you've saved.
Something unique about it being handwritten too,
right?
Because people, when you handwrite a letter, there's so much heart in it.
There's Vietnam mud on some of it.
Wow.
He said the first letter he wrote from there, and I haven't seen it, but maybe it's not what I was looking for. He wrote to me when he first got there, and he said the place was crazy. He didn't think this was a good thing. They had flown him into Phu Bai at night with the lights out, and he threw him out in the plane, and he just had to lay next to the airstrip until morning, and they came out and got him.
Wow.
Oh, that was after his injury?
No, that was
just
when
arrival.
When he arrived. Wow. Are you kidding me? A little kid from Norwich, Connecticut? I mean, I would have just probably had diarrhea, vomited, and died. I mean,
it's
no different. I mean, I don't think women are any different than guys for being afraid for something like that.
No,
sure.
It's not a rational situation to be in. And it's just crazy that just demonstrates how contested the ground was, that they were landing planes, but they weren't even able to move from the tarmac to to any kind of a safe space until the sun came up. I mean, that's crazy.
So you were asking a little bit about my discovery.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Awesome question. One of the most exciting things I've ever done, and I was kind of thinking of you, Craig, because you were talking about getting to your next book and like kind of trying to find your way to it, and it's kind of strange when you're learning something, you're not like shooting for, like sometimes when you shoot for the target, you don't get there. But when you like are kind of like looking for something else, then those things come forward. You know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
it's kind of, it's really strange. So the jacket, that was a story my dad told, like when we were sitting down. I was like, I was like, Dad, do you have photos? What do you have? What do you have in Vietnam? Like, I got a picture of you. Wow. And then I got some x-rays, but like, what else do you got? You know?
Right.
And he's like, honestly, he's like, honestly, like I was so badly injured. They thought I was dead. He's like, there was a point, and then of course my memory gets a little faded, but there was a point somewhere, either Da Nang or Philippines or Chelsea. I have no idea. Probably somewhere in South Pacific, where his an officer took off his jacket, and he's like, you're alive, and it's because of this, and this is going into what I remember him saying Smithsonian. My mom heard Quantico, and he might have said the same. I don't know. So she said that, and I was like, wow, that's amazing, Dad. And of course, I'm like 1-800 Smithsonian. Like, what do I do with this?
Right.
There's no internet when he was telling me this. I have no idea. And so 2015. So that the thought of it stopped. 2015. So my father passed in 2011. 2015, sorry. And then we went in 2017, we went down to a memorial service, like they had for all the people who died of their services.
Or related injury.
In Arlington?
Yeah.
Cause of death was
related
service-connected.
Service-related, yeah.
Because he passed in 2015 from lymphoma, correct? That was an
Agent Orange,
after
right.
effect from Agent Orange.
Yeah.
Which is awful. And it shows how amazing it was that like they told him he was gonna have like if you're lucky, you'll have a year to live when he got back.
Yeah, and he lived as long as he did.
How long did he know he had lymphoma? How long was his?
3 years.
3 years.
Two and a half.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I mean, like, I just hope people that are listening and watching can like this. I mean, his whole life from the minute that he got to Vietnam was like affected in every way. I mean, physically, unseen, and his passing. Like this was.
Yeah. How long was he in Vietnam? A year?
He was there from early November, around the 10th or 11th of November of 66 to March 16th of 67.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's pretty long for a corpsman.
That's a long time. That's a really long time.
That's a long time for a corpsman. They don't usually make it that long.
Yeah, no.
Which I didn't know back then. I thought he was safe because he was a corpsman.
Right.
Which was a good thing.
Peg.
But my point is that like that is a like compared to his whole life, a relatively short amount of time.
Yes.
That short amount of time had an impact on every single moment afterwards.
Right. Exactly.
And that's so important, I think, for everybody to recognize that, it's that service in a situation in a place like that, it doesn't end when you set foot, on the ground.
The consequences are.
And Craig, I'm sure, like one thing I learned from my dad, I'm sure you can probably relate to, is I bet you there's a number in your head right now. There's a date that gets you every year, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Maybe more than one, right?
Yeah. There's the birthdays of the friends you lost, and then there's the days that they were killed, and you think it's ridiculous, but it cuts you every year, right? Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Russ always had a hard time with Memorial Day, not Veterans Day or whatever, but Memorial Day he really had a hard time with.
We definitely had a hard time with March.
Well, it was, we didn't even pay attention to it, and then you noticed he'd start getting, we would end up getting shitty around
at each other or whatever.
Yeah, like January, things would start, and you'd think, oh, it's the winter, and then it'd start getting better once March 17th came, and we'd be like, God, we're so stupid. Because this happens every year.
Right.
It would start, it got so that it started farther out and farther out every year. Yeah. And it seemed to get worse after the kids were out of the house.
Wow. Well,
because you're busy when you've got a family and you're bringing up kids and whatever. And then when it would be just us staring at each other, and we were both working or whatever, you didn't have the distraction of other things to do.
Right.
kind of kept things a little at bay.
I'm sure a lot of families are resonating with that right now because
Yeah.
that's
funny
something.
dates. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Dates. It's weird.
it
Every other
affects.
date.
And you're not even aware.
Right.
You're not even
It's
aware
like a clock or
that
something.
that it's creeping up on you.
Right.
Yeah.
And how it affects the whole family too.
Right.
You know, it really does. And your partner and your father, like the whole family's experiencing you know, this with you, whether they know it or not. It takes a toll.
I think you know it
emotionally.
more in hindsight.
Right.
Or
right.
we did.
Yeah. Right.
So
Sorry, the jacket. I went off base.
That's a really good point. And I'm really, really glad you guys mentioned that because I mean, we identify that for certain kind of parts of the year.
Sure. Yeah.
That there's like an end.
All of a sudden it's just off. Yeah.
And that's coming with, you know, a approach to PTS that, like, thanks to Vietnam Veteran Service, like, we're even coming with this with like a little bit more openness and you know, and it's still difficult. So it just shows, like, no matter like how open and you know, it helps, but it's still
it doesn't make it go away.
Yes.
No.
Yes. No.
Recognition is good, but there still isn't enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Russ always felt that the people, the guys who came back, he didn't know how they survived people that came back without a scratch.
Mm.
He always, he said, I don't know how you even live with that, how you survive, if you ever would survivor guilt, how you would come without having a physical something.
Yeah.
He thought would be
harder.
Really.
Oh, I see what she's saying.
Mind blowing. He said he thought
because it would be because all the pain's in here and no one would see it.
Well, and he thinks it would make it worse because
you almost want to scratch.
Why was I okay?
Yeah, it must be awful, but
not
which he had survivor guilt with all he went through, but he thought it would be worse with someone who didn't have something else to deal with.
That's valid, actually. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, I mean, to see the loss and like all around you, and to see your friends killed or you know, severely injured, you know, and come home completely, you know, for the most part, like physically at least, you know, totally able-bodied. I mean, that stuck with me for a long time, and it's been better, but I still. That's one of the things that hits me every year is like, what am I doing? Like, am I doing enough? You know, with like, I'm so fortunate to have come away, you know, with all my digits, you know, like I need to make the most out of the use of them, you know, and you know, and that's like every, you know, every day, but it's is a gut check, but especially at certain times of the year, it's kind of like what are we doing? You know, like let's.
See, that's something. When Russ went to counseling at different times, and I know one of the themes always was that Russ. They said he would always in life, since then, set a goal that he shouldn't be able to meet, and he would meet that goal, and it wouldn't. That wouldn't make him feel good, so he'd set another goal, and then it was never enough. But he always set a goal for something that he probably shouldn't have been able to reach, but it was always for something good. And I guess I'm not describing that right.
No, that's
really well
that's perfectly said. I mean, and that's something that I do. You know, like I've been wanting to run a marathon forever. I ran the Marine Corps marathon last year, you know, and I want to do it again, you know, and I want to be better. I want to run faster, you know, like and, you know, and and like so many of my buddies, like we've had him on Issa. If you listen to Issa's episodes,
yes,
he's an ultra marathon runner now, you know, and like he
just did 200 miles.
It's like it's super helpful for, you know, it's the because Issa had such a long and busy
16
career.
deployments.
It's so
oh my God.
It's a healthy way for him to keep in that mentality, because if he wasn't deployed, he was preparing to deploy. You know, so it's constantly like having a date on a calendar that you're training and preparing for, and he needs to keep that kind of going with these races, you know, in a healthy way.
It's a heart rate thing. You need to be on it all the time.
Yeah, and just like have it but like Peg said, like have something on the calendar that you can work towards.
Yeah,
that's really good, I think, for everybody, but it's really helpful for veterans too. To feel like you accomplished something, and
Right.
then you're here and you're lucky to be here, and you're gonna make the most of it.
But I think she's also saying that sometimes it's like this almost impossible goal to reach, because the point is it's always there. It's like we're never through it. Like we've never,
that's
which makes it difficult. And it's like how you cope.
It's constantly moving the goalpost on himself, I'm sure.
Right.
He was never gonna get there. Yeah, and that's hard.
And that's and everybody, and we've learned there's no only one way for this, in transitioning out and coping with your service.
Yeah.
Everybody has different, and we've learned, even if you're right next to each other, which I want to get into too, connecting with some of his fellow service members, but you can experience the same exact tragedy and take away different responses to it. Like it's how our brains are wired. And so, as we're sharing these stories, it's just also just want to make that understood that everybody has a different, approach to how they navigate these difficult situations. So you were saying you were in 2017, 2 years after his passing, that you guys were in Quantico, or was it
no, you were just down
Arlington?
in DC, kind of by we went to the Vietnam Wall, and they had a service there and that sort of thing.
Got it.
Yeah,
Wow.
they nominated them there, and it's just like a whole day of people going through, and you go up to the podium and you have like a photograph, and and they talk about it. It's really nice, right in front of the wall.
Yeah.
Oh, Colin Powell spoke.
Oh, that was a different one. That was 2015. That was when Dad was alive.
That was 20. Oh, you're right. That was 2007.
Wow.
That was two different times. I'm sorry. No, Colin Powell wasn't there. We were there for the anniversary of the wall.
Oh, okay, anniversary of the wall.
But I had to trick Russ into going.
Yeah.
Well, we had a massive fight.
Good one. Good.
Wait.
Yeah.
Before I forget though, let's go back to your fight. I love that.
You like the fight?
Yeah.
Oh,
because I heard the fight from her, and I heard it from the guy that helped her.
Got it.
Well, sort of helped her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone she
let's hear that.
Let's hear the fight. Yeah, let's hear the fight, and then let's also explain to people who might not know, might not be familiar. Explain what the wall is, if you can.
Oh, the Vietnam Wall, and it in DC. It has 58,000 something names on there.
It's unbelievable. It's so powerful.
It really is. I'm not really into that sort of thing. Like I didn't think I was, and it's moving. It's really cool.
Yes.
But so this, Russ never kept in touch with any. Mostly, a lot of them were dead, and he didn't keep in touch with people. They weren't keeping in touch with each other back then. And this guy, I guess, got in touch with Russ and wanted him to come because they had this reunion every year, and this was going to be the anniversary of the wall, and there were a couple people that would like to see Russ and whatever. So he said, yeah, okay, well, I got hotel rooms. And then he was like, nope, we're not going. And the night before, he was a jerk. And he was, and he just went to bed. And I thought, and I was drinking some wine, and I thought, well, screw this. And I just bought train tickets. And in the morning, and I packed his clothes, and I packed mine. And in the morning, I said, I'm going to DC, and I've got your clothes, so you might as well come with me. And he came. But we had he was such a jerk the night before.
And he's not a jerk guy. Like
no, it doesn't sound
say that. He was a really soft person. Yeah. So when he was being jerky, there was something up.
Did he? How did he feel about the wall? I know I've heard some Vietnam veterans aren't actually crazy about the wall, but did he have feelings about the monument itself and just didn't want to?
I never asked him.
Do you remember?
He you know what happened? I knew the names of the guys that were on the wall. When we got there, actually they gave him VIP tickets. They had arranged for all this stuff. We were right up close. And good. Colin Powell spoke. Oh my God, he was wonderful. But when we kind of got up to the wall and found out where the names were going to be,
16E.
He it was like he just totally blanked out. He couldn't think of anybody's name, but I could point out the names, and then it was like it was coming back to him. But when he saw it, I guess he just blanked. Or if you get anxious, sometimes you can't think.
Totally.
Maybe it was more of that kind of thing. But it was okay to see it all. And, then he saw them and he recognized.
Big time, yeah. I have photos of, like, him hanging out with all of those guys, and I was able to, like, before I went down there the last time, be like, oh, my God. Oh, everyone in that picture,
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, in that picture.
Kids.
Yeah. Little kids.
Terrible.
And he, we never talked about how he felt about the wall, but he was glad that he went.
Good.
And
he really respects the build of it. I remember you used to really talk about who designed it and stuff. Now it was,
And then we were leaving the next day, and they wanted us to stay. And Russ did stay down and talk to some people that evening. And I just went up to our room, and he and I said, well, we can stay, because I wanted to do something else. And maybe the next day was Father's Day or something, and they do some ceremony down at the wall then. And he said, no, we'll just go home. And he never wanted to go back again. He was done.
Wow.
But he was glad he did it. So I don't know.
Good.
Well, thanks to you.
Yeah. Thanks for packing for him.
A major fight.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think the fight for him was about? Do you think it was just his resistance?
Panic.
And
panic. And me bossing him around.
Yeah. Loss of control in it, right? He kind of, you cope by controlling it, right? Whether it's not speaking about it or kind of deflecting like he did with you, Dave, of like.
It was just better. He just kept everything down. And, if you don't let it up and you try to keep things buried, why face it?
Yeah. I bet you that time made it a little worse too. You're pushing it off, not dealing with it.
Yeah.
Did he interact with people he had served with at that
Good
ceremony?
Question. Yeah.
Yes.
That's who he stayed in the hotel bar with.
Yes.
After, yeah.
Yeah. He did. And then
that's great.
I think he kind of felt like
that was good.
A lot of people just keep living there.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to keep living there.
Right.
Which is good.
He
liked
doing it. He liked talking with everybody, but he said, I don't need to do that again.
Right. Oh, he's reliving a lot of these men's last moments. So many emotions seeing those names.
And they thanked him. Everybody was thanking him.
Right. That too.
He didn't like that.
No. Right. Yeah. Of course not. Right.
Guilt, yeah.
So there's like these added, his own experience, and then everyone like thanking him, and like you spoke about his survivor's guilt, and how just all of these, for someone that was kind of trying to keep it understandably a little bit at arm's length, to have it all come back all at once must have been so overwhelming.
It was something that I think if he had a choice, he wouldn't have joined the Navy. Like he would,
not looking back.
This was not on his. This was not on his bingo card.
He counts when we were at UConn. It
was a different war, though.
It was a different war.
Yeah.
Right.
And at different times. When we were at UConn, after he recovered, we're married. We're at UConn. He counseled people to go to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
You will get amnesty. In those days, we used to go to mass at the Paulus had church up at Storrs, and they had it. There was a church, but they had it in a gym, and it was like an interaction thing during mass, and they talked about amnesty, and they talked about the war and all that stuff. He was really nonviolent.
Right.
So
pacifist.
Into the nonviolent thing. It was kind of it was an illegal war. It was a bad war, which it was just bad. And he had figured that out. So he told people to leave. But in those days, there was no such thing as, he was refused. He had been admitted to UConn before he went in the service,
Right.
but he went part-time and worked. And when he came home, he reapplied to go to UConn. They denied him on the grounds of because he was disabled.
Wow.
And I don't have that letter.
But
Damn it. My uncle was an attorney general in Connecticut, and I showed Uncle Owen the letter, and he just said, well, bullshit, no, I'm sorry, I'm swearing. And you don't deny a disabled veteran his education, and, so he was readmitted.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about
And you couldn't.
That was a very small part of all.
And then you couldn't. The things.
Different times.
Yeah.
Oh, this was.
We had to write to. I had to write to Ribicoff to get him to have surgery to fix his hip. I brought him to an orthopedic guy I knew from when I was in school, and at the VA they were telling him he was looking for drugs. He was,
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
For looking for help.
And his hip, it just wasn't fused right. It was not fused, and I had to write to a congressman in order to get him to have surgery, and the surgeon did it for free as long as the VA would pay for the hospital.
Wow.
They found it, and they found all sorts of infection.
And I've got the letter.
Yeah, they found all sorts of infection. He would have probably died from it.
Those times,
Wow.
It was crazy times. Crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah. What was it like navigating? I'm so curious. The VA. I mean, I read that he had 90.
He didn't go to the VA from 1970 until the first time he went back to the VA was after he found out he had lymphoma. And he went up to Boston, and it's so much different now. They treated him beautifully and with respect, but he, because at that time he wanted to make sure he had everything in order for me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So because of these experiences after Vietnam, because of his experiences with the VA, that was it, right? He was done until the very end. It sounds like.
Yeah. Never went back to the VA.
Wow.
And
we had private insurance.
Sure.
Yeah.
But he had 93 surgeries.
Yeah. A lot of them were small debridements and that kind of thing. But, in those days, they put you under.
Yeah. And was that mostly through the VA? The 93?
No, that was all most of that. It was at Chelsea Naval Hospital. He was there for a year. That was before he was discharged. Yeah.
Oh my, 93 surgeries before he was discharged. Oh my God.
In the 80s, 80 something.
Everything. Yeah, but I think you'll leave it. That's just surgeries, like the things that we modified in our lives that they should have done.
Oh yeah.
Just driving the car. He had to get a Vans because his hip was fused and his legs paralyzed. So part of his legs paralyzed and everything's frozen. Oh. And to get so you had to drive in a van and the seat would break because you have to push it back so far to get in.
Yeah.
Then he would steer with one hand and then use his cane for the gas.
Oh my!
Because his foot couldn't work the gas, and it's like, and I used to ask him, I was like, wait, how did you got hurt over there? That was government. Wouldn't they help you with this, Dad? And he's like, it's not.
You know what? It's not a lot of it.
I'm driving with the throttles with a cane, and like around the house, I think they wanted some house modifications. And they're like, no, they're saying he wasn't disabled. They're like, you're not 100% disabled. They would send these letters back, and it's like, but this letter says I was.
Oh
like, what?
My God!
That makes me really mad.
That was very nice.
Oh, it wasn't. Yeah. Yes, but think about Russ and I could work it out together, and think about the guys who had nobody.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the most important thing. Oh my God!
I
the
think
people
that's
I ran
the
into,
thing. Yeah,
minorities, all such these people. They were like,
well, and here's the thing too about your dad's generation of veterans. Like when I first went to I had an older. He wasn't Vietnam era, but he was an older Marine that hounded me to go to the VA when I got out. And I was like, no, I don't, I have a Purple Heart, but like I got it in the mail. Like I don't want it. And I was trying to like distance myself from that, and he wouldn't let it go.
Absolutely, yeah.
And finally, I went to the VFW and to like file my claim, and it was a Vietnam. Everybody in the VFW building in DC was a Vietnam era veteran.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they like, I gave them my record, and I was like, I'm fine. I play hockey. I mountain bike. I'm and the guy was just like, shut up, and he went through my record and was like, you're going to claim this. 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 You're going to claim this.
Yeah.
And like, was like, we're here because we don't want your generation to deal with what we dealt with.
Good.
And like, and so that it makes me really mad but you guys obviously, got through it. And I think that was probably a big point of pride for your dad, what is in that self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
But, like, how many veterans never went to the VA for a dime of assistance, with anything, and they still
because it was so humiliating. They humiliated you.
And they still want to,
if you show up,
they still want to cut the funding. They still want to go after that stuff because they're claiming it's cost so much. It's like if every veteran that was owed something got it, then we'd be talking about some big costs. But like, it's still,
look how it affected his whole entire
a fraction
life.
of the amount of veterans that could get get help
and
that actually get it.
You're right. There's miles to go, but it's still
Russ is a real success story, but there's so many that just were. One of the guys, he was an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid from family, was from somewhere in the South, and they lived in subsidized housing. And so he enlisted, and when he was 18, he was injured. He was sent to a VA hospital or something, and then was discharged, and he didn't have use of his right arm. He didn't have any education. And he went home, and he couldn't live with his mother because he was over 18 in a subsidized housing. Now, there were a lot of really poor kids.
Yeah.
Poor kids of color who were drafted, and that was like a way out of even a bad situation. And then they come home and they can't even live with their family.
And like deal with racism.
I mean,
in this country.
that's not a VA issue. That's a horrible.
That led to that guy's spiraling.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
And I have letter, like I found a letter from him into my dad's hospital, and it was like I don't know if it was the Times, but it was like the sweetest letter he ever wrote. And he's just like, I thought you were dead. I put your body on with, I helped put your body on with a dead, with all the deads. He's like, I'm so glad you're alive. I can't live through this. I'm breaking down. Crazy stuff.
But he's been in and out of jail, and
and you know what? He's still like my brother. He's still alive. My brother contacted him. He's in Florida. He's a sweetheart. He just just wasn't treated right by the country.
Right.
Yeah.
And look,
his life just stopped.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I see how you're,
this is not a happy talk.
Right.
No,
there's funny stuff though. I got funny stuff.
No. This is the important, stuff. I mean, we welcome it all, but this is the important stuff because like you said, and Craig actually writes about a similar kind of subject in Second Chances about just like when he came home, to a pretty stable family.
Yeah.
Like he could fall back economically, but also like emotionally. And everybody does the best they can, right? But for Craig specifically, he writes about a lot of the guys, because Craig's second book was about a writing program that he started at Maine State Prison here in Maine. And a lot of the writing program members were veterans. It was in a veterans pod. And a lot of these guys' service started because they didn't have that stability when they transitioned out. And like you're giving like such concrete examples, even back in these times, we're talking about like today in Afghanistan, and with all the resources the VA has tried to evolve with, and their transition days out of the military, whatever you want to call it. But even with that, this is a same
still
struggle and battle, and just it's so important.
How do you get on a plane and go from that to Logan Airport?
That's gotta be hard, yeah.
You go from Afghanistan to or Iran or Vietnam, and you land at, LAX or somewhere, and this is life. How do you
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
How do you want to speak about to that a
No,
little bit?
yeah, I mean it's one day at a time, and you try you just try to uh, I didn't do it very well in the beginning. Like I was totally overwhelmed by and kind of angry at like all the problems that I was supposed to care about,
And that you saw other people caring about. Like you were just
Yeah.
like, this is so dumb.
Like I remember going to like IKEA and being what, like give me a break, like like I need a milk crate and like a mat on the floor, like that's all, like like, and
Yeah.
everybody's obsessing about drapes and like color schemes and like what theme do we want for our kitchen, like give me it was like, so it made me so mad, and I didn't see it. It's that's great. Those are great things to worry about. Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's okay to care about the color scheme in your house or whatever. Like, but to me, I was so cynical about it. And that was me in a really good environment, coming back to the DC area, with a lot of experience and like a marketable skill that I could use in the Beltway, and like all my friends were doing well. They're in school or they're working, and they're starting families, and like, but for a lot of guys and girls of my generation, they went back to the Midwest or to in towns in Maine, where the mill had closed, and it was the only job in town was an opioid, to like get in the opioid market, and start using and dealing, and like that was how you made money. Like that was a extremely enticing thing for people to get into, and that's the struggles that people are still going to be dealing with, and but this guy that your dad served with, that went back to the South. I mean, imagine all those barriers and all those challenges of combat and being wounded, and then factor in the racial component that he had to deal with.
And the environment in the country coming out of it.
It's unfathomable for me.
Russ always felt that he was glad, not glad, but he said for him to come home, he had a whole year in the hospital and he could deal with recovering and, learning to walk and doing all that stuff. He didn't have to just
go right back to it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I bet you if you spun right back into it, wasn't it?
I mean, I don't want to say that's stubbornly positive, but it is, because basically he was finding gratitude from his, almost 100 surgeries during that time to recover. The way he was seeing with it was, well, it helped me slowly transition back out into civilian life, which is
I don't know that he was thinking that then, but that's what he said.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's what he said. Early days after, when we were first, we got married 3 weeks after he got out of the hospital.
Wow.
You couldn't live with each other then.
Wow.
Right.
And he didn't want to go back home to his parents' house. His parents were good people, but his mother was, she just figured he was, handicapped for life, and that's how she treated him, and he just had to be away from that.
Oh, wow.
Everybody was getting married then. So we were 21 and 22.
Jeez. You'd already gone through so much together in those 2 years. He was in service and recovering, and
then they told us we were going to have. I was worried about. Well, this is another one for Dave. I was worried about like congenital defects and stuff like that, because he had so much X-rays, so much. Do we have to be worried about that? And they told us no. They thought he'd have a problem with fertility.
Right.
Well, no problem.
Well, thank God.
That's great.
Because that was the greatest gifts, I'm sure, for him.
Yeah.
Well, it was, but we were 3 months married, and I was.
And you were pregnant.
How many pounds was he there?
Oh, he was probably 120 there.
Yeah. So this is when he was healthy. So what was he down? What weight was he at when he left Chelsea?
Oh, what? No, when he left Chelsea, he was probably about 100.
Wow, is this your wedding
It's
picture?
beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
look, and he
It was
has.
only a couple of months after.
Well, that was after the VA. He was at Newington for a while.
Wow. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
His weight was like
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sure. I mean,
before that. It was
gosh.
way less than that. Yeah.
So
He was still quite studly, and he was a good kisser. So what can I say?
Yeah.
I love this story. I love that you guys thought this. I mean, it's just interesting to me that you thought, okay, like, you know, you're out now. He's out of the hospital. You're married. You think the next thing will be maybe we're gonna have this struggle getting pregnant, having kids, because God knows, like, yeah, that would
Yeah.
make sense. And
We were like, oh, we'll worry about that later.
Mhm.
Yeah. No.
nope, other plans for you. That's great. I love
Thank
that.
goodness.
Yeah, right. I mean, also, what a positive thing but I'm sure it brought its own concerns for him too,
Yeah.
as like, you know, father and husband, but what a great thing to focus on too for him,
Yeah.
you know, about you and the kids. I'm sure that was guiding, like you said, those goals that he set. I'm sure that was
Yeah.
like one of those things. Can we while we're in this space, can we share the story of the flak jacket and like what
Oh, yeah.
happened that day?
So I'll tell you what I know for fact and what I'm piecing together, and then what is speculative, right?
Sure.
So because it's history, and when you say it, I've learned from that Independent article. Thank God that writer was so about facts, because I could have said anything. I could be like, yeah, he was Superman. He flew in there, and then you open up Google, and that's history. It's weird.
Right.
Mm.
So
Well, that's
I'm
your
gonna just be
integrity.
I'm gonna be because I'm trying to look for some sort of like valor, like an award for him. I want to just
Yes.
make sure I'm like on
Yes.
par. So what I have learned from this discovery of the flak jacket, which was amazing, is not to go far off, is the curator at the Smithsonian reached out to me when I was doing this widespread, like massive campaign trying to find it. He's like, I think I got it. I think everything's matching up.
Mm.
I want some. He goes, I want you to call the government and send me his medical records. I want to line up a few things, and so it's still ongoing. But he sent it, and then, man, life-changing experience talking to that type of person. Not to veer too far, but
Yeah.
when I went down there, I went. I'm like, my mind is like, oh my God, there's a chance, And so in my mind, I'm like, this has got to be it. 100%. And then you're kind of like, you ever look for something of your parents from when they're a kid, maybe in the basement, and maybe you find it. It's like an old kid's dress, and like, oh my God, and you pull it out, and it's musty, and you're like, oh, I can smell my parents as a kid or
Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah.
So I'm expecting that type of an experience, right?
Right.
So I'm like, I'm gonna go down there. I'm gonna know it's my dad. I'm gonna smell. It's gonna smell like that musty basement.
Right.
This guy's gonna pull it out, and then I'll be like, mine, give it to me, right?
Mm.
Like I'm gonna do something cool with it, like or something, wear it. But you know what I mean? But I go down there and I just get met by like the most awesome type of human being in the world, like a Smithsonian curator, like which I
Wow.
didn't know was like, I just thought they were just like another person. No, this guy, the amount of integrity they have for their job is unbelievable.
Wow.
You go back into his back room and he's like, this is what I'm working on. And he is clear as day. He's like, this isn't your dad's as of now. We don't have the evidence. He's like, we're just lining up some stuff. He goes, and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of feeling bummed. And he's like, no, this represents what your dad went through.
Hmm.
And he's like, I want you to understand that. And then he went over, he's like, detail. Like, these are all the things that line up, and let me hold it, let me touch it. And those are the moments I was thinking, like, I'm going to hold this. I'm going to have some sort of like that arc, going to see the jacket and have this awakening moment of like, oh, this is a transitional point in my dad's life that I'm
Right.
witnessing, right?
Right.
And it wasn't there. Like, I didn't feel it. I'm like, oh, I'm just holding like a relic.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? And maybe it's because the guy's saying it's not. And I'm seeing like I'm holding some like blood stains, and I'm like, you know what? This is something more important. Like, this is like a transitional point of some dude's life.
Right.
Like, while his parents were sitting in Mississippi, and he was like some 18-year-old kid just getting, by himself in Vietnam, or possibly Korea, but I think it was Vietnam.
Mm.
Getting blasted, probably died. This is like a shroud. This is like the last moments of someone's life when, someone lost their kid. And like for me to say, give me that, I'm going to use it as a costume,
Right.
party thing for my kids. Like, that's like, and that was respectful in my mind, is miles away from the amount of integrity that they hold at that museum for those types of items. Like, there couldn't be a better place if it is his or someone else's for that to be stored. Like, it's always going to be there. It's an awesome article.
Yeah.
That being said, Frank, he's like, I have a job for you. I want you to keep looking. He's like, he's like, I read your story. I read the notes. He's like, there's a bigger story. He's like, there's more to it that's outside of this that you're missing. That is incredible. And there's more to the story. And he's like, get to work and let me know what you find. He's like, you and I are going to be in contact about this and about other stuff. Like, this isn't just about the jacket. He's like, I want to follow your journey of what you learned. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that there's no dollar signs, nothing.
Right.
It's all about history and research with those guys. It's unbelievable.
And he wants to get down.
Yeah, he's like, I want you. He's like, if you can find a case for valor, you call me. He's like, we're gonna work at it. He goes, I've had ceremonies in the Smithsonian for families. I've helped arrange. He's like, keep me in touch. He's awesome.
What a guy!
Eye-opening experience.
That's he'll never know how much that means to you, that he put so much care into. I mean, I'm sure you told him, but it's just like, to have that much care and respect for something that means so much to you and your family. That must have felt so amazing,
right? Or to someone else, or to someone else's,
or to someone else.
And I find him, and it's so weird because the David Kinney who wrote the article, he became friends with him. He's a Smithsonian writer as well. He's like, hey, I want you to check something out. I'm in this group and we're learning about jackets, yada yada. And I saw Frank in there talking to people, asking questions like, oh, you have this assortment of jackets. I'm looking about this, and they're like, hey, good luck in your journey, and good luck in your journey of finding the jacket. And he's like, his heart's in it. He's like, well, we know somebody. Like, he didn't know I was reading it. We know somebody. He's like, my goal is to find this to line this up to a family. Like, it has nothing to do with me. It's someone's life that was probably lost, you know what I mean? And he has a jacket, and like, that's his mission. Kind of like, it was at first it's like, I don't want to make it my dad's, but might not be, and that's important to not say it is if it isn't. You know?
I see, right? Because it's unclear if if it's your dad or if it's somebody else's. But regardless, it's like
it would be awful if it was someone else's,
right?
And I was like, yeah, it's mine. That would be gross,
right? But it also,
last moments,
Dave, which I know we're talking a lot about Russ's integrity, but I also feel like this speaks to like your integrity and like how similar you are to him, because even throughout this whole episode, you have been so careful of like, let me make sure I get this straight. And, like, let me make sure I'm not, glorifying or elaborating. Like, you want to make sure that this is as honest and forthright in this whole process, which I feel like he would be so proud of you, because these are the qualities you love about him, but I think you represent them so incredibly. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Well, I think you guys can relate to this. History really is messy.
Yeah.
The reality of it. All our journeys in life, there's no pretty version of it. It's messy. It goes like this.
Yeah. And I mean, this is like one of the first things that Craig writes in the book is, and I've always loved this, what you said, Craig, like, because you wanted to make this really important. Like, in the first like intro of Craig and Fred, he wrote, "For a brief time in my life, I walked among giants. This book is dedicated to those I walked alongside, to those who made it back, and to those who did not. My story is not a profession of glory or grandeur. It's about how one person came to realize that it's not what happens to us, but how we react that matters." And it was really important for Craig to be like, I'm not glorifying war by writing this book. Like, the people, the men and women who have actually experienced war, this isn't some like Hollywood, story. And like, we're learning, like, this affects every aspect of your life in a lot of ways afters, and like Russ's. And I love that you're also pointing that out with this jacket. It's like, no, this isn't like, hoorah, like this, blood stained dress. This is like, wow, look how this impacted, this person, this family.
Best case scenario, if I took that home, best case scenario is my great grandkid would be playing war in the backyard, like, and like leave it in the woods and it'd rot. You know what I mean? Like, that's the best case scenario, like in reality,
Right.
Smithsonian, it's better than a grave. I mean, that's going to always be there. It's
yes. Yeah.
So if it is his, oh my God, it's in like the Mecca of
it's in the right hands.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's great. So I'm so happy about that. So he told me to learn. he said, he's like, what do you know? I was like, well, I know a little bit. I know some stories. He's like, those are stories. I want you to find facts.
Wow.
And I don't have it in front of me, but my dad, one of the ways he told us about his experience is he gave us all a book. He's like, hey, I'm in a book. And I think that was a good way because then he didn't have to, day one. He's like, here's kind of the Hill. It's called The Hill Fights. It's by Edward Murphy. And he's like, here's the whole thing. And, these pages 44 to 46, that talks about my thing a little bit. And it's pretty good. It's pretty accurate, and kind of glanced through it and I see his name, like, he's in print, but it kind of lines up. But finally I sat down with it, and then I sat down with my mom's letters, and I sat and I did some internet research with some
And how about the article in the paper that he was interviewed?
Oh, by the Herald?
But Boston Herald.
Oh.
And that would have been, he got back March 26th. It must have been in April of 67.
Wow.
They interviewed him. So
I could
he
do that.
tells his version of the story.
I see.
In that.
Not
But
far after.
he didn't.
He was pissed about it though.
He was. I sat there when he hadn't talked about yet what had happened. And he had me stay there when the reporter was there. But then when the article came out, he was mad because they kind of
sensationalized.
Yeah. He felt like they sensationalized the way they write.
I read it again yesterday, Mom, and I was like, what is it? Because I don't want to do that,
Right.
And I was like, what does it mean to sensationalize? Because I don't want to dishonor him because he hated that.
Yes.
And it was just kind of like, the click of the grenade and the explosion, the screaming. And it was just like, it wasn't like
Oh.
historical. It was like,
Oh.
it was like they're writing a movie, to make it interesting.
Yeah.
And he didn't care for that. 'cause
No,
his friends
no.
died,
Yeah.
No.
So I had that. Then my brother, he's kind of a yasha. He likes to go off in these crazy things and learn all these neat things. He interviewed his best man, who was his mentor, and he was several years older, and he was.
We thought he was old, so old he was 30.
He was like this really handsome guy, but like when you hear him talk, he was just like this crusty.
He was a Cherokee.
Yeah, a Marine. Like he's seen it all. And my brother got an audio recording video of him. He's like, will you tell me your experience on the Hill that day, And everything lined up, and it was great historically. Everything lined up with everything. But it was after. So what he saw was right after. But it's still good. He's like, I walked up the hill. I saw your dad, 15 feet up in bamboo sticks. And he was dead. So I grabbed him and another guy, and I think they made like a cot or something. I'm piecing together three stories, but I know it's factual. We made a cot out of a poncho. We're getting fired upon. It was terrible, and we brought him to the helicopter, and then the gentleman we talked about that wasn't treated right in the South, he loaded him on. So then my third article of like evidence was from that man that helped put it on. He just wrote the most, like, he was the one that he wrote the story. He's like, I saw what you did, Russ. Like, I'm in the hospital. I'm so glad you're alive.
Wow.
You saved people's lives that day. Like these 3 people, like these 4 people
Wow.
are good for it. What else did he say? Said, oh yeah. And then he just said, I can't deal with this. And it's dated 1967 with his name. It's kind of an article of evidence. I would have to kind of prove it, but I have that over there. And then I have, then I have just some Marine Corps historians writing about it.
Wow.
And then the Hill Fights, I got a hold of the author, and he spoke with the 2 Marines that witnessed my dad doing the acts of heroism, and that was new to me because my dad didn't talk about it. Edward Murphy, he's like the head of the Medal of Honor Society, who like organizes all their historical stuff. He's like really like an integral type of person. I got a hold of him. And I said, can you back me up, and tell me where you got these sources from that he did these acts of heroism? And he's like, I talked to that person who saw it, talked to the person who saw it, and I looked them up, and they were at the same day, same time. And one guy had a silver medal, silver star, another guy got something else. And I read his account of what he saw of my dad, and he's like, he was running through the jungle, like everything was on, the whole trail was on fire, running away from safety. Every other corpsman was dead, and he had bullet holes in him while he was saving people.
Yeah.
So I was like, holy shit.
Wow.
Pretty good.
Wow. That must have been so emotional. I didn't realize that this isn't a story you grew up with. This is a story that you pieced together
uncovered.
from other service members, like your dad's fellow, like,
Right.
men, and putting it together and their words, that must have been such an emotional journey to put that all together of what happened that day.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, because then you kind of relate to what they held on to.
Right.
And that wasn't the only day, I think.
Right.
No, that
Not
wasn't the
just
only
that,
day.
of
But
course.
there's more. If you don't mind, there's just a little more of that story.
Yeah.
So from the discovery. So he had that so what the discovery I learned, and these are everything I know is provable. Like and then the pieces I put together was a military tactic known by the North Vietnamese. So we discussed a grenade that went into a backpack, which is my understanding. From what I understood from the book, and a couple like historian people, what likely happened was him and his friend who had passed away on top of him. They were set up. Then they they used their bodies as a
Decoy.
a decoy. So when the next Marines were coming up the trail, they knew the Marines. There's no way they're going to shoot, even if they thought they were dead. You know what I mean? And so they were doing their thing. And then when there was a 45-minute period there that is documented. What I've put together is there was a tactic where they took the grenade, they removed the pin, slid it in between his medipack and his flak jacket, and they put it in there in hopes that Marines rescue. That they killed most people this day, knowing that Marines would rescue each other. The helicopters, everyone. They took down 3 helicopters within a series of hours. They full of dead bodies and all sorts of people. They just anytime they went to rescue the North Vietnamese, they were smart as hacks. They knew exactly what to do. They had mortars ready. Like, here comes the next one. Boom, and they were just taking down.
They had all those tunnels they found at the top.
Yeah, they were waiting for them, look crazy. And that was the same thing. They knew they were going to rescue their brothers, so they put the grenade in there. He's like, and so when that body, there's some pieces there, like, there's some pieces from stories I don't know. I don't know if my dad just moved and it detated, or if someone else was there and passed away, trying to save him. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So there are and I'll never know. Right.
He yelled. He said that
he saw people coming. He said, "Get back." That's documented. Yeah. So people were coming up. There was a machine gun or whatever, and he was alive enough to scream and tell people to go away.
That was before the grenade went off.
So I finally got a hold of Edward Murphy, and I said, "Do you think what he did was heroism? Because I know your expertise with this." And he said something really, really cool. He's like, "Dave, I'm gonna be straight with you. Your dad's a hero." And he goes, he's like, "There's 2 things I'm gonna tell you." And the first thing, this is an email. The first thing is he says, "Marines and corpsmen are expected to go into fire to save one another." He's like, do you understand what I say? He's like, so to give them an award isn't. He's like, hell yeah, it's amazing. They're amazing people. They're heroes. Like, look what they're doing. And he's like, that being said, this is a little bit different. He's like, we have proof that everyone around, it was such a severe situation. Everyone else is getting awarded. The paperwork was.
They were awarding the dead.
They were awarding only the dead. He's like, that was something they did back then. I don't know why. Most of the people that died, they would award them for doing acts of heroism. They didn't want. No one wanted to do his paperwork because the Navy was like, nope, that's Marine's job. Marine said, no, it's Navy's job. And the paperwork I found is like terrible. But the bottom line, he said, what your dad did was different, because if you look at the big picture, there was no way your dad thought he was getting out of there alive. Right. He said, but it's kind of he was actively getting bullet holes in him, rescuing people, right? While there was up in his mind all the way until he got put on the helicopter, he was working to death,
right?
Literally,
right,
to do his job,
right?
And I know that's part of the job, but I feel like that's a little above and beyond.
I think
absolutely it is.
Yeah,
death is definitely going to happen, and I do know that the situation was so bad from a phone call I had a couple of weeks ago, that someone who had left right before this happened to my dad, he said, look, I was on the hill. This is what happened. All the corpsmen, but your dad died. And he said, I was on a helicopter going up, and the 2 helicopters in front of me got shot down with my friends and dead people. And then he goes, I was injured, so I got to get medevaced. He said I was going out, everything was just lighting on fire. It was like, it was insane. He's like, it was the most awful day of my life. He's all emotional. And he says, I looked down, and he goes, I saw hanging from the bottom of the helicopter, was hanging from the bottom. He was so scared because he was going to die. Yeah,
He did.
and he went up, and they went up, and they just said they were just blasting the bottom of the helicopter. You just saw him fall into fires.
Wow.
Type deal. But so that happened, and so those are verbal accounts. I don't have that, but I guess that's what I learned coming out of the research that Frank said. He said, go deep, go deep, go deep. And there's a strong picture I've painted and connections I've made, and some that aren't certain. And then a lot of it is a judgment call. The paperwork's absolutely horrible from the government. It's terrible.
I was going to ask. Yeah, so you're talking about, for people listening, this is a paperwork to request a medal.
After actions and all that.
Right. And now it's a process because you need some, like.
I have it.
So did you submit all of that? You have to have, like, you've already done
it,
right?
It's terrible.
It's terrible. Like, talk a little bit about that.
It's like, it's awful. It's because, no, I guess it was pretty known. And a lot of times they didn't like consider, like in a lot of those paperworks, they would leave out Navy people and just consider Marine. And the weirdest thing is, for after action reports, I finally found, for that particular combat, I finally found an archivist in Maryland, because it hadn't been digitized yet. He found it in a box. I paid him privately. He found it in a box, and he scanned all of it. And I was like, I want to get this range. Every day is crystal clear. And then the day of the combat, it looks like someone took the piece of paper out and left it in the sun. Everything else is crystal clear. It's really weird.
Wow.
But that's
maybe because it was used a lot. People are like, hey, what happened that day? I don't know.
Wow. Because you're talking about like the daily journals. Like, you can find a lot of these.
After action, right.
The after action.
And they call, but everything was classified. Dad wasn't supposed to talk about it.
I see.
For a certain amount of years.
And he went to, because he wanted to know, he went to there were groups back then that were against or for the war, whatever, left and right groups. One was the SDS, Students for a Democratic Society, and one was YAF, and it was Young Americans for Freedom. One was SDS was more left, YAF was more right. And we were living at UConn, so he went just to hear what it was about. He wasn't a joiner, so he just went to hear, and he had some suits come to the house and tell him they'd take away his disability.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it because of the class?
It was Nixon. I'm telling you, it was crazy.
Was it because
they're advocacy groups, and they were because they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could say that he was, acting against.
He was acting Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Wow.
That's nuts. That's insane.
That's geez. I mean, we're looking at such a different.
It was crazy times. Yeah.
Wow.
And so
this is really neat.
Yeah.
So my dad's best man, he was a Korean War vet. He was a badass. He's like, and he was telling my brother, he's like, I put your dad's body on the the helicopter. Which, when I'm wrapping my mind around how severe the situation is, I'm like, you thought you're gonna die too, and you're caring for dead people. Like, what the hell? Like, who are these people? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not. I was never. We never had like military people hanging out,
right.
So I'm not accustomed to that type of stuff. That's amazing. So that's amazing. So he did that, and then that other person he helped, and then afterwards he had the story from my brother, and this is very true. Months later, so I'd like grieved my dad. They were very close, and months later, he had gotten a job and
He was stationed at Chelsea.
He was stationed at Chelsea, and so the recording I have with my brother is he was chatting, and he's like, I hear the nurses talking about this guy, and he's really dire, and he's on this floor, and he's got your dad's last name. It's Jacobson. And he said he's down to 90 pounds, 80 pounds. He's like, he's not eating. He's refusing. He wants to die.
He was in ICU.
He's in ICU. He wants to die. He's like, his wife's trying to see him. He's like,
girlfriend.
Sorry. His girlfriend's trying to see him. He's refusing. He's refusing food. He's refusing water. He's like, he's not, this isn't well. And that's common. It wasn't just him. That was a thing.
Yeah.
It was awful. And he goes, I marched down there, and he's like, I saw a ghost. He's like, Jake, and he's like, I thought you were dead, man. You know what I mean? So he had like a huge breakthrough, like, which was crazy. And both of them were like, what?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so this is
Actually put what he thought was my dad's dead corpse on
I
helicopter bull.
Yeah.
see,
corpse.
and now
we never
he-
told you that story. I had never told you
Chit-
that.
I see.
So and that's funny because that was just something I knew.
Yeah.
I was there,
Uh,
but I guess we
Yeah, it's
just
kind of a
never
weird thing
talked
to bring
about
into a
it.
case,
Yeah.
I
No,
guess.
so
That's
Yeah.
so
amazing.
how long after? Oh, bingo.
Did your dad kind of turn it around after that? After realizing
Yeah.
that some one of his friends made it out, and like that's
Well, wouldn't let him give in. He told him to, I mean, he'd been through the worst of it. So
yeah. What a moment. That's
yeah.
incredible.
And when did you learn this story? When did your breast start? Bingo just joined us.
So this one's dated a little bit. So that one's dated. So that's a couple years now, 2 years maybe.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
that one's a little bit
probably
dated, but
imagine
I was able to like kind of put it together and connect.
Right.
And my brother only like had parts of it, so he
Mhm.
gave me like the uncut version. I was able to hear it.
Imagine that moment for both of them to like fight harder to
Yeah.
carry on to get to fight.
Yeah.
Oh, hello, Bingo. Okay. That moment that they saw each other, like that, what that must have meant for both of them, like, right? To
Yeah.
be like,
We
Yeah.
both made it out.
because you're saying he was not eating, he was like so
Oh,
struggling.
he was pissed.
He was-
He'd had. This was end of September of '67, and that he'd been in a body cast since April, I guess.
Jeez.
So came up to his chest and both legs and a bar in between.
Oof.
And they finally cut the left leg out a little bit and he stood up. He had, there was no PT. He was up on Canadian crutches, I remember. And that was so good because every day coming after work, I'd take the T and go over the Mystic Bridge. That's the Tobin Bridge now.
Yes.
And going over the bridge, I'd be thinking, on the bus, I'd be thinking, oh, what am I going to see today?
Oh.
And it was so good because he was up. And so I was thinking, Yahoo, we're getting somewhere. And the next day I went in and he had severe back pain, high temp and whatever. Well, the grenade had destroyed the right kidney. But, it was like getting him upright. It just,
Calm down.
Yeah,
it just unsettled it. It settled down into, he was a mess. So he had surgery the next day, and they nicked his renal vein.
Oh.
But we didn't know that. And in the morning, I got a call that he was on the critical list, and I better get over there. So I went over. Well, that's another story. Russ's dad's good friend was a retired lieutenant commander in the Navy, and he stopped up to see Russ. And when he saw what the conditions were, he went crazy. Mr. Brown, I remember. And he, so he made some phone calls, and he was he was like an officer guy that threw his weight around.
Yeah.
So I guess he raised some trouble. And Russ's dad and I are standing talking to the surgeon who said he didn't know if he could go in and do surgery on Russ knowing he might be facing a suit
Oh,
in the Navy.
yeah.
Meanwhile, I had called somebody I knew that I worked with, a doc, and asked him if he knew anybody that had privileges at Chelsea. Because sometimes, like Mass General people also had visiting privileges over at the Navy hospital. He said, I'll see what I can do. And that guy came over and did the surgery.
Wow.
Yeah, and they had nicked the renal vein the day before.
Yeah.
And then he had an allergic reaction to anectine, which is a med they give you for anesthesia. I think they don't use it anymore. So he had a respiratory arrest, and he couldn't breathe on his own for about 4 days. So he was on this vent.
Yeah.
He was pissed.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean,
He was
And that's
pissed.
leading up to seeing this.
And then he's, when they took out the endotracheal tube, he wouldn't talk to me. He wouldn't look at anybody. He wouldn't eat. Oh, he was not nice.
oh,
Yeah.
I mean, the struggle. Like just the physical struggle, the mental struggle to get through all of that.
Well, and you don't blame him for being pissed.
Absolutely.
I did then.
It sounds torturous.
You know, then I have hindsight now. Then I was scared and I was mad.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean,
the conditions too.
Also, just recognizing, Peg, that you're also serving with him through this too. Like you both, like Craig always says, like the families.
Yeah, no, that's
Oh yeah, it is.
100%.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
And you were valid in every emotion that you were feeling then, and how you navigated that. I mean, that you both were like unspeakable.
It would have been hard to go through for both of you under the best of medical circumstances, but then to factor in the conditions in the hospital and the system that you had to go up against. I mean, it's unfathomable, and
it's worse in hindsight than it was going through it.
I'm sure.
Because when you're going through something, you just go through it. You just go through it. And in hindsight, when you look back,
I love that he was in that dark, like that dark place, and then seeing that his friend, you know, like it was just such a
I'm sure
powerful moment for both of them,
and to have you as a constant through it all. Now, where are you at with the request for the Navy Cross? Have you submitted the paperwork to them? So for people listening, to request this, like Dave mentioned, so much paperwork, and also you need a congressman on board too. So where are you at in the process, and how can we help?
I honestly just need maybe a little guidance, because I've asked a lot of people and I've gotten a lot of different stories. It's not a really common thing in the, I don't know, the word is posthumously. Thank you. So right now it's on the table of to get the process started with Congressman Keating office. I've already kind of got the ball rolling, and I'm trying to get like that list of I've talked to like their top VA person, and he was just kind of like he's like, honestly, this is a little bit different. I don't really know. And so there's someone in Plymouth actually that knows quite a bit.
She's excellent.
Yeah, so we're really fortunate. There's a person that is an eyewitness recommended by the writer of the book. He's like, if you can get under oath, or like, you know, what do you call it? Notarized letter of this person saying, hey, because they wrote it down once in 1967, this happened. If you can go down there and like have them do it. But there's a million reasons I don't want to put that guy through that, but I don't know how. I'm just I'm gonna try to submit without it, but he might be up for it. He's the type of person that does not trust government people. He doesn't trust people coming up to the home, knocking down the door. He doesn't want to be reminded anymore of the war.
I see.
He's kind as hell, but he's not. I need to walk around that gently, because without him, this particular person, there's no way I would be standing here alive. So I got to be fully respectful of that conversation. So I'm trying to navigate that. I'm trying to give that as much thought as I can.
Sure. I'm so glad
that's my loose end.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're sharing that, because this isn't just like the tangibly it's difficult, but also like emotionally this is difficult to also as family members and for this fellow serviceman. It's not this like, just get the documents and get it notarized, and it's like, no, these people have to like, this isn't something they want to relive too. That's really,
and that might be more valid than something in writing,
right?
You know what I mean? Like then, you know, that it might be more I might eventually have to honor that. If I do, I'm going to balance it out. I might come to terms and be like, all right, I'm just going to hand in what I got and see what they do.
Yeah.
I got to weigh that. I got to weigh that out, because I owe that guy something. A little bit of peace isn't too hard to give him.
I think already you're doing like the best, you know, that you can possibly.
I mean, one of the things I was thinking about as we got ready for this was, you know, that I was wondering about, and it's why I asked earlier, like how much time your dad spent with the guys that were on that hill with him, you know, and if he had any time with them. And it sounds like, you know, when you went to the wall and he stayed down in the hotel and, you know, and spent time with them then, you know, I think that for a lot of combat veterans, you know, it sounds like your dad too. I mean, the award is important, you know, and it's definitely like what you're trying to accomplish by getting it is is incredible and worth pursuing. But I think for your dad, the knowing that the guys that he served with held him and knew that
that's valid.
Knew what he did and were grateful for him. That to him,
that's a great point, Craig.
That to him was like the shiniest award that he could ever ask for.
That's I never really thought of it that way.
Well, and it's I don't want, I'm saying it not to deter you in any way from pursuing a Navy Cross or any kind of a Valor award, because I think it will be really healing for you guys as a family, because
it's for us, really.
But I hope it brings you some peace knowing that that's all he ever cared about, was that like the guys that he served with knew that even the ones that died, their last image was your dad, like running for them. And that's a promise that we make to each other, that like if that happens, you'll look back, as you're bleeding out or whatever, and you'll see one of your guys coming for you.
Right.
Craig, you're bringing up a really valid point, because the real humanity of it is those actual moments with one human being to another of it's not some government medal. You're right. No, you're like, we're searching for some sort of connection. I'm personally looking for some sort of connection to be like, hey, this happened.
Yes.
He deserves this. But the reality is that it changed. Someone's life had a moment, like you said, with another human being, and the ends and the scariest points of their life.
And I think you, like, it's one of the other reasons it's so amazing that you're pursuing it is make them say no. Like if like make them,
because they said no to him enough times. Make them.
And if they say no, then it's like, you know what? Like there's some words I want to throw out right now, but just bring your dad's like actions to them.
Yes.
And like and like if they say no, then like it's just a big, like, you can throw back a big middle finger to that, like,
and come back on. And we can do that all together.
Yeah,
because
it's ridiculous. And
he would love that. Honestly, he would love that.
Yeah,
but I think
he wasn't a big protester about.
Yeah, but that's the.
He was a silent crook.
I think that's the goal, though. It's like someone that fought this hard, that sacrificed so much. And it's like, I think all of us, right, when we look into our family history, it's like there's a pride in us too, but there's also a protection. Like, no, he deserved more than this. He deserved more than what was given. And we want to do what we feel. I think it's so important to try and see as far as you can, and you're doing it, and look what it's like uncovered, right? Like look what you've learned.
I'm learning, like, I wasn't even going for this. I want to trace back a jacket, and I'm learning this. It's amazing.
And then you uncover,
it might uncover something else,
right? And it's connected. So are you now in like more contact with these friends of his, like his fellow servicemen? Like, have you?
So honestly, there's just not many left, and it was I think they
Danny?
lost. I know, but they lost the majority of the people that day.
47.
And it's also important for history. Like a lot of what Craig wrote about in Craig and Fred is like, if I don't tell the story of what we did and like the impact we made in Afghanistan and what we did for the villagers in Afghanistan, no one's gonna share. Like it's this forgotten history, and
it's critical.
There's lives that were lost in these efforts. Like we should honor them by sharing the story. So what you're doing too, like coming on here today, is sharing this like piece of history that people don't know until now. And that's important. Like it's important to realize what happened that day and how it shaped your life and Peg, your life. And
and it wasn't just that day.
Right. No, of
course.
course.
That's the thing.
No.
I guess I say that.
No, that's the most, that part, what you just said, it wasn't just the day.
Yes.
Holy shit, it's not just the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
People with service, with spouses and their partners, is your only, the world sees the polished version, and it's the person, it's their spouse, their partner that is telling you, telling them not to give up. Like everyone's like, "Oh, you're such a legend. Look at you. You didn't give up." Yeah, I bet you know what I mean?
Right.
I would guarantee there were some conversations where my dad was looking at my mom and said, "This is it. I'm done." And she's like, "Get your ass out of bed."
All right. You want to,
Multiple.
I think humor also saved us. We were both a little outrageous with humor when, I don't know if you know this story. He finished school in 75, and in 76, we bought a house in Avon, Connecticut that was an antique, and we were restoring it. We had a little house that we lived in down by New Haven that was for sale. And I was pregnant again. And so we were working on that house. And so it was in February. So it was just before Dave was born. And I'd been.
Which was?
March 17th of 77.
Oh, no way.
St. Patrick's Day. Yeah.
But it was pretty much the same day as
the anniversary of Russ getting shot.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That was pretty good.
That is
So, and that was a gift to him.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So I was a little crabby. I know it's hard to believe because this is the third kid. And I'd been painting or something all day at this house, and we had to drive back down to Middletown. And I'm starving. And I said, we have to stop for something to eat. So there was a Friendly's, and we pulled into Friendly's. And for us, it's much easier to sit in a booth. I really didn't give a shit. I was, 110 months pregnant and crabby and tired and hungry. And I said, there's seats. Let's sit on the seat. So he balanced. But when he balanced, he had to sit funny with his, he just had to sit funny with his leg out. And this person walks by and goes, "Russ, is that you?" And Russ looked up and he said, "Oh, hi, Dr. Luby." And he's the guy from St. Francis who did his surgery for free. He came up, drove to stores during his lunch hour to cut him out of halfway out of a body spike 3 months after the surgery.
Wow.
I mean, the guy was great.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, he said, "Russ, is that you?" And Russ, "Dr. Luby, oh yeah, hi." And he said, "Russ, I've taken care of a couple of you guys, and a lot of them are really head cases. And I'm wondering how are you? How have you been?" And he said, "Dr. Luby, after 8 years of marriage to Peggy, the war was nothing."
She's asking.
So
there you go.
humor.
Yes.
So humor.
That's amazing.
Humor
Yes.
and love.
And so I say humor.
Yes.
And because we were like that, I mean, I didn't take offense, and it's not.
No.
I thought he was funny.
Yeah.
There's
But I would give it to him too. So it was kind of like you have to be able to.
Oh my God.
And that's something that you can't. I don't think that's just both of us had that personality. I don't
Thank
think it's
God.
something you can develop or whatever.
Right.
But I think that's kind of what saved us too. Is he was funny.
Yeah.
That's great.
I love that.
Well, you are too.
You are very funny. I love that story. I mean,
As a corpsman, he used to. My mom mailed him this funny
Oh, I said, I was, yeah, it was the 60s. George's Folly in Boston. I bought him a silk tie. This is really good at war. Hot pink with white daisies with orange centers. The daisies are this big.
Yeah.
oh.
So he
was like a target.
Yeah, he was like a target. So he was all. I guess it's really important when you're working on people is you want to calm them down. I mean, it's awful, And so he would calm them down. He'd wear the tie, and he says, oftentimes he would help out Vietnamese people, and they would scream on him. And he'd always say it to me over and over again, "Ding yi hao bok sai, ding yi hao bok sai." And he asked me who could speak good Vietnamese, I guess. And he says you're crazy in the head, man, because you're a crazy doctor. Bok sai is doctor. You're like a crazy in the head doctor. So he was always messing with people.
Oh, that's awesome.
Dave, I'm curious for you growing up with your dad and hearing how Peg and Russ got through so much with the humor, right? And the love. Like for you, How did his service impact your understanding of struggle and, all resilience and everything that you saw him experience or learn?
So it took me forever to identify him as a a combat veteran. I identified him as a person that had disability, right?
Wow.
And so and there was a thing on the side too where he was a pathologist, so he always worked. I always had questions about death for him, and so and that's where I learned that I screwed up quickly, because he would talk very matter of fact. He's like, oh, I had this really interesting case, this person, and we would talk, and I love science. He loved science. He'd talk about what he learned about this body, blah, blah, blah. And I used to ask him, I was like, does it make you feel weird? He's like, no. He's like, I just want to help out this person. I don't have a relationship with them. I don't help their family understand it or whatever. And then I thought that would be the same thing talking about his friends in Vietnam. Like, I was like, oh, okay. So what was it like when, someone was dying in Vietnam, and all of a sudden he was like, I was like, oh, it's different. Oh shit. Like that's when I started connecting like what it meant.
Right.
So there's that. And then there was other moments like that you look back on growing up are strange is there's a certain aspect, I think, of disabled vets in particular that have the physical ones and people that struggle with other things as well.
TBI.
Yeah, of course. I'm sure there's a bit of they can't help it, but they're like, oh, I'm less than, right? So they're not, they don't want it to affect their kids, and damn it,
Right.
And I just remember like one of the first times, like you when you're a kid and you had the chalk, right?
Yeah.
You're in the chalkboard and it's your turn, and like teacher's like, go clean the chalk off the board. You need to run up there. Well, we would always help him in the morning get his shoes on, right? And so the brothers were gone, and I was like, and my mom wasn't there or whatever, and he's like, and I could see him, and he's like, and he's sweating, and he's like, doesn't have a shoe, and I had learned to do my shoes like a year ago, and I'm like, it's me, I'm up, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I got you, Dad.
Yeah.
And he just looked down at me in his face, like he was covering his face, like, oh my God. And I'm like, what the hell is his problem? And I'm like, no, let me do it. And I'm sliding on the sock, and I'm putting, is that good? And he just looked like so like, what do you call that? Just like demasculated, you know what I mean? Like he's like, oh, I just passed on like this horrible thing to my youngest son now. Like this is awful, But in hindsight, I guess if there was like a veteran who's struggling, who's like thinking about having kids and that sort of stuff, those are honorable things. Kids love to help their parents.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they're still a parent. He still whipped my ass. Like you know what I mean? He still had he'd swing a cane at us when we were being brats, whatever, Not me, my oldest brother. He was a jerk. But
Drew wasn't a jerk.
No, Matt was a jerk. He got the cane once in a while.
Wait, do you have two brothers? Do you have two brothers?
Yes.
I did not know that.
I have one in Connecticut and one in Australia, I think.
Oh wow.
And
he used to throw the cane at Matt.
Yeah, and it only occurred to me later in life. I'm like, I always thought about that. I'm like, I thought he'd be excited, like, oh look, now Dave can like tie my shoe. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'd slide his sock up, and his feet were just crazy with like, you could tell where bullets went through at one point. Like you put pins in them and stuff, and you wrap the socks around all these wounds and the old healed up grafted wounds. And I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I was proud. You know what I mean? I thought it was awesome.
Right.
Yeah. And it wasn't like I don't know if it was a war thing, but I just thought he was a badass,
Right.
like you know what I mean? Like I want to be part of this, and you're still a macho dude, I don't get it.
Yeah.
So I guess if he knew that later on in life, that would have been nicer. And then
he got better about that. Like,
oh yeah. Even as an adult, I'd like show up and like I'd see him like sit in a chair, and that just kind of meant it was like there was no ass. It just went over and helped get him dressed. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. But I guess the three things that I learned about after I had a 1 hour conversation with a therapist, or I'm jumping around. So I was taking medicine, and it wasn't feeling well, and this is how I learned about what it's like to grow up with a disabled vet. And my prescribing doctor said, "Hey, look, you're taking meds. You got something to talk about. Go talk to someone. Just do it for me. Whatever, try it out." And I'm like, I'm going to stonewall this woman, just get over this, and check it off the box. And this sweet woman comes up, and we're doing a video thing, and she videos, and this is how I know it affects kids in good ways and bad ways. She's asking me questions about my life. What was it like growing up? Tell me about your brothers, your relationships with your brothers. Your wife, you married, kids, great. Your parents, awesome. then she sat back and she was asking me a series of other questions about like, you know, hey, what'd you do this week? And it was an intake thing. It wasn't formal. So it was very relaxed. Yeah. And she looked at me and she said, who was sick in your family? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't say anything about that I was sick. And I was like, computer off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she's just like, was it your mom or your dad? And I was like, it was my dad. And he's like, your whole life? And I was like, yeah. Was it disabled or ill or what? And she started writing stuff down. And she's like, and then she was connecting it. She's like, who's in war? And she was doing like the dates. And at first I was amazed. I was like, this is like some Copperfield crap, right? Yeah. And then I realized, I'm like, well, I'm going to see a person. Like, she knows something's wrong. And she did the math. And I asked her, I was like, how did you figure that out? And she goes, well, you apologized like 6 times. You're worried about me being uncomfortable in the room. Like these people that grow up with us in their house, there's something in them, even though they're not doing anything, where they're constantly like trying to make a situation. They're worried a situation's going to get uneasy or uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So they're constantly like worried about everyone.
Yes.
And she's like, she goes, it's a good thing, but it has side effects that can give you anxiety.
Yeah.
She's like, it's a good, and she educated me on it really quick. She's like, you and other people that go through this have an unbelievable ability for empathy. And that's excellent. And you should use that. She's like, but it can cause anxiety because you're always worried about stuff we can't control.
Yes.
Which is really valid.
Yeah. She sounds amazing.
Russ and I went a couple times.
You did.
Together. And I remember Jeff looking at me, the shrink looking at me. He said, okay, Peg, now, he wanted me to, like, why did you, what was it for you? Why? It was kind of the gist of it was, why'd you stay with him and go through all this stuff all these years? And I don't really have an answer that I can come up with. So I just said, Jeff, I'm the oldest of 6 in an Irish Catholic family. I went to 15 years of parochial school and I'm a nurse. And he said, I can help Russ, but there's nothing that can be done for you.
No, that's
it's kind of true.
Yeah.
I just am who I am.
Yeah. Well,
and I know somebody could probably get to me, but I'm not letting them.
Yeah. So coming out of it, I learned 3 valuable things. And that was well, a couple of valuable things. I don't really know how many, but one was, I learned about like, that's a kind of a side effect. And then like looking back, like a lot of these people that come out of these situations, like I didn't realize how fortunate it was. A lot of people, they give up. A lot of people give up, And what did my dad do to survive? I gotta at least take that in. And the biggest thing was he adapted, right? So he showed up, and it's a motto in our house. Anytime some crisis happens, is you're allowed to mourn for a few days. Yeah. You're allowed to feel sorry for yourself. Like something horrible happened. We've had people in the family had horrible things happen. And you're allowed to do that. You need to absorb that, and you need and essentially you're going to mourn forever.
Yeah.
But there's a date when you're ready to figure out that date where you get back up on your feet and you start moving forward.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, that's your new place. You're not dealing with it. And yeah, it's like all these types of things are kind of like, it's kind of like loss of a limb, I suppose. It's like, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? You're like, you can't, it's still there. It's never gonna be the same again. It sucks. You can sit on the couch, or you start marching with it, and this is your new reality, right? And that sucks.
Yeah.
And
you really have to have a pity party. You do have to get over it.
Yeah, and you got to get over it, and it does suck.
Yeah.
It's horrible things that happen to people. But the ones that make it, they move forward, and they say it sucks.
Yeah.
So there's that, and you gotta adapt.
And you can have periodic breakdowns.
Yeah.
But then you have to move on.
I love that you say that, because that's kind of the foundation of like our message of Stubbornly Positive is like, it's not toxically positive. It's leaning into the pain and acknowledging it and releasing it and like finding the gratitude. Saying it sucks, but also like not letting it take over, not letting that at the control, that anger and that.
Really helpful.
You have to let a little bit out in order to be able to, you got to release some of it in order to just keep going. You can't just let it all.
Yeah, you can't hold it either. But I guess like the last thing I was talking about, like him adapting, was his message. I don't know if it was who he was before the war or after, But I think he gave it to me, he never really gave me these big, long lectures. He just said, hey, look, you do whatever you want in life and I'm proud of you. But he's like, he's like, if one thing that your mom and I value is just at some point giving back, right? Like when it's all done, enjoy your life. But if you're taking, that kind of sucks. Take some, but make sure you leave some. You know what I mean? Like give it back a little bit. He's like, and I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I work in the sciences. I help. Your mom's a nurse. And I always struggled with that, right? So I'm like, man, in my, my brother, he's like, I think he took the message and he's like, I'm going to go into detective work and help people do stuff. And he's a cop. And then my other brother, he's like, I'm going to do military over in Australia. And I'm a teacher. I love kids. I could never find that niche.
Right.
And then I heard something that, that was really nice. And it was this guy, I went through like a phase when I was a little bit younger where I was like, I was so irate about like my dad's experience in the war that I was like, how do I fit in with this? Am I like a nonviolent? Am I what do you call it, a pacifist? Do I join one of these pacifist groups? I don't know. Like, how do I be a good son like that?
Yeah.
And this guy was speaking. That I read his books. His name was Coleman McCarthy. And someone had asked in the speech, and they're like, hey, Coleman, you're always doing these anti-war things. You're always doing these nonviolence lessons and teachings. What's the most revolutionary act you can do as a human that would improve the world? And he's like, that's easy. Have kids.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
He's like, if you know good people, they should have kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period. He's like, there's nothing more profound or effective to make the planet better than for good people to have children.
That's such a beautiful,
yeah. Wow.
So that brought me peace. I'm like, I don't have to be a teacher. I don't have to be a cop. You know what I mean?
It's not about your career. It's about your life.
Yeah.
Your life.
Your purpose, right?
You pass it down. So I heard you guys' journey, and I'm really excited for you. And I pray for you all the best.
Thanks, Dave.
You guys are awesome people, and the world needs some more of you guys.
Thank you. That means a lot. No, I'm so honored that you guys have shared with us, and I want to make sure that we make this and represent your dad the best we can. What could we all learn from Russ? Which is a big question. But it kind of helps summarize like who he was, what his legacy.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Man, there's a couple things. He didn't hate. It was always with good intention, and I loved this. He always said, part of the reason he didn't talk about the war was because people wanted to be kind, and people wanted to come up and be like, Russ, you're so inspirational. And the word I think of is that he did not say, so I'm paraphrasing, is that he would have called it maybe inspiration theater, right? And he's like, he's like, what you're seeing is just, this is just day by day survival. This is ugly. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
he's real.
Yeah, this is real. This isn't inspiration. And it's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a story like that's going to, I'm so glad it makes people feel good, but it's like this fucking war is nasty.
Yeah.
It's gross. It's the most inhumane thing that human beings do to each other.
Yeah.
And it's this, you know what I mean? And it just brings horror. And the word inspiration just doesn't see it mixed with that. And so I guess that would be about that one day, that one, those like Craig said, that very short period of his life, he wasn't about inspiration theater. He was about just the real life, just being real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
About the ugly stuff and about what it means to keep marching forward and acknowledging these crappy things in life and still seeing the best in it,
Yeah. I love that.
I mean, it's what we say about war, is it's the worst. It's a failure across the board. It's a failure of humanity. It's a failure of policy. It's a failure, of so many facets of our life and our societies. But with people like Russ and are the best of humanity in our worst times, and it's not like he carried that on throughout his, as an example of his whole life. I mean, it's not, he didn't stop seeking out difficult, situations, like, like he in his work, like he dealt with death and dealt with difficult stuff all the time. Like it was, but with a with like this perspective, of like, yeah, like that life is full of these really difficult and awful situations, but we can show up in them and be brave and beautiful and light, in these dark
Absolutely.
times, and so
Well
he,
said.
yeah.
And he had joy.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
make him sound so dark.
Yeah,
He
he
was
had
so happy.
That's what I
joy. He
mean.
had joy, and he took joy in little things.
He was a happy person.
He was so joyful. He had his humor and like dark humor, which we personally love, to carry him through.
He was
had
so bad.
Yeah, he was very dark.
So bad.
he had the humor, but he was also real and upfront and didn't glorify.
Yeah.
And I mean, it makes me think of my grandfather from that interview he did with the high schooler. We talked before we were recording, and the quote was, "War is evil. It should never be." And that was my grandfather was such a pacifist after everything he had seen. I mean,
yes.
That's how Russ
yeah.
was. So,
and I love getting to know him. I wish I got to know him, while he was here. I love that I feel like I get to know him today. And I know he didn't want to be like, I'm not an inspiration. This is the reality. But I do see how he carried through and was such a loving father and husband through all of that. It says a lot about him. And that was an everyday struggle to do so, which I want to recognize
He
too.
did it with a smile on his face.
And you, Peg, too.
It's generational, but like my father, I mean, my kids would go and go to give my father a hug, and he'd put out his hand to shake their hand. And Russ's dad was very much like that.
Wow.
But Russ always hugged and kissed you guys.
Yeah.
He
broke,
broke,
and I think that, and I think generationally that has changed, but I think it, that was just something he was not going to ever give up, was hugging and kissing his kids.
He wasn't going to let it ruin it.
To adulthood.
Wow.
And
He's
I
a cycle
think
breaker.
He is a cycle breaker, and he embraced the joy, like you said, those little moments. Like that's joyful.
Yes. And he was funny, and he saw the humor in a lot of things. And working in medicine, if you're working in medicine, it's all a lot of sick humor. Yeah, and it's a defense to get through it.
100%.
Yeah.
But so
we busted. The poor guy was like on one limb. I remember one of the last times we had him in San Diego. We might have been at Naval Hospital. I don't know where we were. But he was in
that when he had this spleen?
So the poor guy, he's hanging out. He's visiting me in San Diego, and we're staying out at Naval Base Coronado, right? And there's this beautiful hotel.
Right on the water by Hotel Del.
Thought his head falls into the spaghetti or whatever. His spleen, because of the onset of the cancer, he didn't know. His spleen burst. And that was like stage 1. We didn't know. And, he was literally running out of blood. And we're like, I was somewhere. And my mom's like, hey, meet me at the hospital. And we meet at the hospital, and he was gray, and there was a moment there where we didn't know what was going on. There was huge internal blood loss, and he was looking at us, and I showed up with I'm such a jerk.
This was
the next day. But like the first day, I'm like busting his balls. I'm like, oh, great. So you're gonna come out and die like when you're on vacation, like, and I'm busting his balls because that's just how our humor is. Like you gotta ride him, And he's like, and he looked, he was scared, but I was just giving back what he used to give to his people. And a nurse, she was pissed. She grabbed me outside. She's like, your father is dying right now, and you are mocking him. And I'm like, I know.
and
I'm doing this on purpose. This is how we care for each other. This is
how we cope.
Please go away. The next day I got him a hat, and I got to find it for him. I put it on the hat, and all the nurses like, oh, you're right, because he was like his body was just, obviously he was just a mess, just war wound dude. And I gave him a hat. It was a trucker hat. It said I made a scene and ruptured my spleen, and it was like a big trucker hat. I made him wear it. People were like, this isn't a joke. I'm like, yes, it is.
But one of the team came around, and Russ said, this poor girl, she must have been like a first year. She came in, and the bunch of the team are like, oh, that hat's funny, the medical team. And the girl said, Where did your son ever find a hat like that? Where do they sell those? Like, there's a store for ruptured spleen.
There must be a lot
hats.
of ruptured spleens in California.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I love
we're
that
ballless.
story. That's so good.
Really funny story that needs to be shared.
What is it?
It's the funniest thing. So my dad, everyone, just how it affects the family, he's limping around the house everywhere. And my parents hear something once. My cute little, my older brother, he's walking up the stairs and I hear this cursing. And he must have been 4 or 5. And he's walking up the steps and he's got this little brown afro and he's going, can I swear a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
I did.
Oh, you can swear? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't bad words. But
No, this was Matthew.
Oh, it's Matthew. And he's going up the stairs and he's, shit, God damn it. Shit, God damn it. And he's going up the stars. He's imitating he must have overheard my dad. That's how he walks up the stairs because everything was
at the end of the day.
Yeah, everything's in pain, right? Shit, God damn it.
I shouldn't laugh.
God damn it. So all the kids would copy all these things. That's what we do.
Oh,
That's so
They
funny.
also would we have a family reunion at the Cape every year in Falmouth because my parents retired there, and my father's had 3 brothers and all my cousins. There'd be like 40 to 60 people would come, and with little kids, and they would go over to the other side of the road to do crittering. And we have pictures because Russ would lots of times take the kids and he'd say, "Okay, men, let's go." And Russ would walk, and when he walked, he'd take a step, and the right leg, the hip was fused, so he'd swing his hip and pull it through, and it was and his leg was straight. He had limited motion in that knee. And my brothers took a video. They said, "Look at this! Everyone, there must have been 7 little kids behind him, all walking like that with their
limping.
They didn't know."
No, that's
wow.
Did he laugh?
It was all. I mean, it was.
It's. I mean, some parts are like kind of freaky, and some parts are like this is just the reality to deal with, and it's.
Or he'd get tired, and Drew would pick him up and put him. Drew was.
Yeah, we used to carry him places. They'd go on like he'd be like, "Hey, I'd love to go fishing with you guys," and like you show up and there's no way to get in there, and the captain's like, "Oh, I don't know how to get your dad in there." Like, just pick him up.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Just pick him up.
So it was no big deal.
Well, it's also great, Peg, that you were a nurse and you understood. My mom's a nurse, so I also understand being kids of nurse moms, which is like toughen up. I mean, between a corpsman for a father and a nurse, like you're fine. You're fine.
They were tough kids. Did you tell her about when he was shot and he thought he saw his grandfather?
I think that was in the article. So my dad was non-religious, like I would say, non-religious.
He was spiritual, but not active. Yeah, he was spiritual.
He was like spiritual in like a scientific way. He did confess at one point in our life to my mom much earlier that he did have one spiritual thing, and as a person of science, like he would always have an explanation for anything that happened in the brain, and he said this one was different. Yeah, and that was his. He said when he was dying,
when he was
not dying, right? He said that he had an outer body experience that was crystal clear.
Yeah.
And he said I was above my body, and I met my grandfather.
Yes.
And his grandfather.
Grandpa had just died.
And visited him. Yeah. Right. Had visited him, and he like in the moment of chaos, kind of like hell chaos. He like quite like they had a conversation, and he's like, "You need to go back. This isn't the right time."
Wow. He said he was flying on his back, looking over his shoulder. Yeah. And he looked down, and saw different people who'd been killed that he shouldn't have known.
Wow.
That they
I didn't know that.
Died. Yeah, and he said he had no pain. And he was with his grandfather, and there were other people, but he didn't know them, and he wanted to stay, but his grandfather told him he had to go back.
Wow.
He had children
that was the only, his only experience.
That was the only,
Wow.
And he was crystal.
But he didn't tell. He didn't. Back then you didn't tell people that stuff.
No, right?
No.
Yeah. He told me about it, but
at one point, Mom in front of him was like, "Tell Dave," and he told me, and then he was a little funny about it, and then just dropped, and then that was that.
But see, then he saw Kubler-Ross speak, and he couldn't get Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She was the one on Death and Dying and Hospice, the stages of grief. So he went to see her and speak, and and it was people from the lab where he worked were there too. And a couple of they couldn't get in. They ended up, it was jammed. So they were outside, but they televised it to the lobby. And he did tell them about it then. Because everybody was like, God, they wanted to die. Because she talked about
how awesome it was.
About near death experiences. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I love this.
He did tell, and he talked that there was a woman in town who worked upstairs at the hospital whose son was killed in a head-on collision in Avon in Lovely Street when he was home on break from college. And it was a horrible accident. He ran into a snowplow. And he did talk to her because she was distraught, of course, but he did tell her how he felt when it happened, what happened when he was hurt, and that he was thinking
the piece of it or something,
that probably her son really didn't suffer, that it was a different experience than what you're thinking.
Right.
Because it was, like instantaneous.
I mean, for him to be shot and have all that pain and for him to feel euphoric in that moment and feel like
he said he was without pain.
Right. I mean, that's such a valuable healing thing for anyone to hear that have lost someone. I love that story. That is such a...
Yeah, he said he was pain-free. He said that didn't last, but it lasted for a significant amount of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that just to end on kind of this note, do you think it was, we call it stubborn positivity. It's like wagging your tail at the challenge.
Yeah.
Do you think his stubborn positivity, because it sounds like it was like who he was, right, before Vietnam, do you think that helped him navigate all those transitions after?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's who he was.
Yeah.
I think that, people have said, oh, he was so lucky he had you. He would, he never would have made, Russ Jacobson was going to make it whether I was there or not.
I don't know.
It was, yes.
If you go through your letters, like if a lot of those things fell through, there's a lot of pieces that needed to fall right.
Yeah.
No, he would have made it because of who he was. It would have been a different journey. But it would not have been as wonderful as it was
of course not.
for me. But he would have had a successful life. He wasn't gonna.
But all it takes is one day of saying I'm going to give up, and then have that person there to push you through. You know.
Well, he got through.
There were times where he's like, I'm giving up, and if he didn't have that person, that was that.
Yeah, that's true. But maybe he had the freedom to say I'm going to give up because he had somebody there that he knew was going to tell him. Get over it, buddy.
I feel like he would say the same thing if the roles were reversed, Peg. I feel like he would say the same thing, and I think that's what you guys were such a good team.
Yeah, he would.
You guys were. That's what makes your marriage so. You were a team, and when one was up,
we were.
The other was down. Like, you pull each other, with each other, and I love that.
That's great.
I love that you're humble in this moment, and I love, Dave, this interaction that you're also like, wait a minute.
What's that?
Our interaction.
Oh,
yeah, he's Baby David.
Yeah, are you the
our baby?
Youngest,
he's still in the family, known as Baby David.
Yeah.
I call Lydia Little Lids still the baby.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to share before we go? Okay.
No,
thank you very much.
Yeah, that was awesome.
This was a good therapy session.
Yeah.
For us too.
Yeah,
Thank
us
you.
too.
And I really, you never know. We always say this on the podcast, but you never know like how your stories can really help other people. And I think there's going to be a lot of families that will listen to this and resonate, whether or not they had a family member in combat or not.
No.
just
to ask those questions and do that.
It's life.
Make those phone calls.
Right. So thank you.
Everyone's got a story they don't feel as valuable or don't talk about. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Especially with war.
We're so honored that you're the first of the series. It really was so special. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing Russ with us. Thank you for honoring his story. And, if anyone listening has any insight or can assist Dave or suggestions, or if you've been through this with, the process of
posthumously.
Thank you.
honoring your loved one, please get in touch with us. We can connect you with Dave. But as always, thank you all for listening.
Yeah.
Stay stubbornly positive.
And Semper
Fred.